Okay, so then, yes, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Manorino Thompson.
I am here.
Councilmember Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Jennings.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Present.
Mayor Garrett.
Present. Thank you. I invite everyone to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item F, San Jose Gate electricity.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call, please.
Jennings, Councilmember Jennings, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Manorino Thompson.
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes. The agenda has been approved. Next, for public comment for items on the agenda, please come to the podium. Understand you can speak now for things that's on the agenda, but if you're coming to talk about the pilot, you can actually do it twice because there's a hearing, just to let you know. So if anybody would like to be heard about any item on the agenda, please come to the podium and give your name, please.
Real quick, I mentioned this earlier, just noting the absence of the usual police reports in the meeting packet.
Thank you. I think that it was updated on the website, by the way.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else want to be heard?
Well, Diane Anderson, and I want to repeat what I've said earlier about pilot schemes, that they are a con job. Their origins go back to this far-right economic agenda that we have suffered from for the last 45 years now. Starts at 1947 at Mount Pelerin with Hayek and Friedman. It's implemented during the Reagan years, and it's left us with not only environmental degradation, but with the greatest wealth inequality in 150 years. I'll be controversial and say I am very disgusted with the MAGA movement, and yet I will acknowledge it didn't come out of nowhere. I think it's very important to recognize that if you're going to give great big tax benefits to a property developer to basically trash our most important building, it's pretty important that you have a lot of questions answered, not be bringing those up later. But I do think it's very important that we start to question some of the things that the Cernos say as well. Sam Cerno says his company has been here for over 50 years. That's 1975. His company wasn't even founded until 1978. He talks about all the wonderful things they did to preserve the school. Anybody that knows the school and has looked at it from the outside knows that's not the case. They were actually storing cookies in there from their cookie company. Cookies inside an abandoned building. Gee, that's a good way to attract vermin. You attract vermin, you can get damage to the building. So I think we have to start questioning with this pilot scheme many of the promises that are being made by the Cerno group. Because if you look at that platform thing I made outside, Daddy Cerno promised great things when they trashed the old town hall. And that was a building that could have lasted 200-300 years, like the ones in New England, like the ones in Europe, if it was properly maintained. Instead, he bulldozed it, and he put up that cheap and nasty FedEx building. It was Kinko's at the time. It began to fall apart within a matter of years of being completed. The columns came apart. Anyone that thinks that that building is even remotely close to what Cerno destroyed is either lying to you or else they're very ignorant. It's nothing like what he destroyed. So when you get all these promises about the pilot scheme and what they're going to do, it's very, very, very important that you start to question everything the Cerno said. We've seen nothing in terms of proof other than the property industry about the need for apartments, even though we know Southfield's putting up a big complex with, 754 units, and there's vacancies all over this area. In my little area, in my building, it's 22 months now this one unit has been vacant. There's vacancies everywhere. I've got more questions, and I'm rambling, I know, because I had a phone call from Australia as I was leaving, and I left all the things I was going to give you to make it coherent. So I'll leave it at that, other than to say we really have to question the efficacy of pilot schemes to begin with. As somebody said at the study session, if you can't make it, if you can't work with Preservation Michigan and get grants from these various preservation groups, then you have to question what kind of a building that you're putting up and how much preservation there actually is.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to be heard? And let me say this for the record, because talk about the project, take the people out of it. Got it? Anyone else would like to be heard? Thanks for the background music. It's very nice. It's calming us.
It's better than my ringtone.
I feel like I'm at the music festival again.
I feel very calm.
I think it's done. Very briefly, Tim Hillman, San Quentin Drive. I know tonight on the agenda, council will appoint a few planning commissioners. I am also part of the planning commissioner, and I know that several very well-qualified candidates applied. So I just wanted to briefly express some appreciation to those candidates for their application and let them know preemptively that I'm looking forward to working with them. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to be heard? Okay, hearing none. The motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes,
Councilmember Manarino Thompson.
Yes.
the consent agenda is approved. Before we go on, you said it was for DTE Power
Item F, yeah.
F. I only have a D. That's under the consent
E
agenda.
request, oh, yeah.
So you
Yeah,
might-
so yeah, D.
Yeah, the action
Yeah,
request.
I'm
we
sorry,
only have
I looked at the wrong letter, so item D, yeah.
D or 8D?
8D as in dog.
8D, okay.
Does that have to be updated or does not big deal?
I'll make, or I guess amend my original motion to make San Jose Gate Electricity, adding that as item F, to replace that to be added as item 8D as in dog.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion for that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes. Motion passes. Now we're gonna go into the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, before you open the public hearing, can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
I think it would be probably beneficial for everyone to hear the applicant's presentation prior to opening the public hearing. That way, that may address some questions or may create additional questions from the public. So if there's no objection from the applicant, I think it makes sense to hear their presentation prior.
No objection to me, thank you. Is this gonna be going on the screen?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Oh.
This takes a second to load.
All right. Is there a way to go full screen on
It's
that, or does
fine.
it have to?
Can't
Okay,
make it
cool,
any
cool.
bigger.
Hi, everybody. Jordan Sherman and Sam Cernow here. We wanted to put together a rather extensive, so please buckle up, presentation that does a deep dive into this project. There are elements in here that incorporate from the site plan meeting, from the historic HDC meeting, and finances. So we're going to go through and try to explain to everybody one more time everything that's, all the merits of this program, all the things that we see, everything that we shared with MISHDA, why we're firm believers in this community, in this project. This is land that Sam can talk to, but this is a project that's been going for 20 years now, trying to make something out of it. And we're so close to getting something done, both locally here with Lathrup Village and statewide with MISHDA. And it's a real testament to the type of work and partnership and teamwork it's taken with the community and with City Council and with the various commissions to even get to this point. So we're really proud of what we're about to show. And the end goal is to develop something for Lathrup Village that helps not only with some of the larger city issues related to finance and population, but also something that everybody can be proud of, and that's saving a historic building and giving it another 100 years of life. Cool. So let's see if this thing will click.
It's PDF, you gotta scroll right.
Oh, I gotta scroll, okay, even better. All right, cool. So, Sterno Company, a little bit about us. This is Sam, he's behind me, and his brother Max. And our mission as a company, we're a family. Some people call us a corporation. We're a family company. There's 8 people at our company. We're a family-owned real estate development firm, and our mission is to create places for people to thrive. And that's what this is. That's what this project is gonna be. The people who live here are gonna be given opportunity to be housed in an area that it's just very expensive to live, and they're gonna be able to thrive here in Lathrup Village. We're about family, teamwork, dependability. The company started, Sam's dad started the company in 1978, so it's been nearly 50 years. We should do something big for our 50th to make it official. But the company started in Lathrup Village, and it's been here ever since. And here's just an idea of some businesses, many of whom participated the Lathrup Village Music Festival this past weekend, and have been in this community since the 90s, since before Sam and I were even involved, and Sam was a janitor at many of these properties, including the school when he was a kid. It's been 20 years trying to make something work at this school, and the reason why is because it is a mountain of a project. It's a historic school that we're trying to save on land that is difficult to develop, and these types of projects will go into the finances are razor-thin margins with a ton of risk, and that's why developers are not super interested in this project. That's why we haven't received any offers on this, even throughout the project, because as you'll see, whoever does this, ourselves included, is going to be taking on an opportunity and a chance that it doesn't go the way we want it to go. And we ask ourselves that question every day, is the juice worth the squeeze? And you'll see that in the presentation. It's not just random for us to want to do this. We actually specialize in historic adaptation. So this is our office. It's a post office that was built in 1940, completely retrofitted into a Class A high-end office space for many different tenants. We've done this across Birmingham. This is the inside of what the post office used to look like, and then we've renovated it on the inside. We work in this area. It's beautiful. We've also done this with a church, a 1927 church, which we were able to convert, and now OneStream is a publicly traded technology firm that works there and is on a 10-year lease, and then that's a school administration building, which I think is actually the best building in our portfolio, made into a high-end Class A office as well. So these are projects that we do all the time. We're really good at them, and we want to do the same thing here with the school. Our track record is in historic adaptation. It's our bread and butter. It's what we do. So let's get into what this project is going to look like. But before, just the macroeconomic environment, I want to reiterate for why there's a housing shortage, why these programs exist, and what's happening at the state of Michigan. So this is our governor with her phrase, build, baby, build. Not as catchy as fix the damn roads, but it's working for her. They have acknowledged across the state of Michigan that there is a severe affordable housing crisis. And the mantra is build, baby, build. And they are consistently giving money to people and to different communities to build these types of projects. These are all recent headlines. Unlocking potential starts with housing. Our agency wants developers to ask for help to get housing projects off the ground. We're releasing $2 billion in loans to help a crippling housing shortage, straight from the governor. This is the CEO of MSHDA, so that's the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. Direct quote, I think it's important that I read it. It's from May 2025. We definitely have a housing crisis still happening. MSHDA estimates that the state is short 140,000 housing units, a significant hurdle in addressing the crisis. The cost of building and rentals continue to rise. The difference between what Michigan families make and the cost of housing remains a significant gap. So this is word for word what's being said by our state leaders and what's happening across the state. And I probably don't have to tell you guys, everyone says the rent's too damn high, and that's kind of what's happening across the state. People are getting priced out. You can look directly in terms of the fact that this is happening. Although Lathrup Village has never received money from the state for a project like this, other communities are. Governor Whitmer says herself, we are moving fast on our 5-year housing goal, and every week she's putting out another press release talking about all these different communities that are getting loans. In our opinion, it's time for Lathrup Village to be part and on this list and to participate in these programs before we get left behind while others are getting the money that we're not. This is from Lathrup Village's own master plan. You can see the population statistics. The population of Lathrup Village peaked in 1970 and has been on a continuous decrease ever since. The reason for that isn't because Lathrop Village isn't a wonderful place to live. It is a wonderful place to live, as evidenced by everything that you see here and everything you saw this past weekend. The problem is that there's no housing to go to. There's nowhere for older people to come in who maybe don't want to live in their house to downsize to a nice apartment that's in their own community, and there's nowhere for young people to come in because there are no affordable housing projects for young people who are making in this target age demographic, and as a result, you're seeing a 40-year decline. We're trying to help Lathrop Village address this population, increase, and build a bigger tax basis. Another direct quote from Lathrop Village Master Plan: attainable housing can be a challenge in Lathrop Village, and it can stress family finances. Many people find themselves spending more on housing, leaving less of their income available for housing expenses. My eyes are a little bad, I apologize. But this is straight from Lathrop Village Master Plan talking about housing. If you look at what the master plan says for the Annie Lathrop School, we are covering it exactly. Rehabilitation and growth, parking, development of the site, creation of a gathering space, type of materials. We've gone down my list. We were approved on site plan approval for that very reason, for showcasing that this project is in line with the Lathrop Village Master Plan. Further, the images that are in the master plan are very similar to the renderings that we are proposing. So everything that we've done throughout this has been a partnership with the city and its various planning commissions to build something that was intended to by Giffords-Webster and everything that was built out for the plan. Now if you look at the housing stock within Lathrop Village, so this is done via Appoint. It's one of the leading research development firms in the real estate industry. They did a study on the 5-mile radius within Lathrop Village. And the way that study works is if you're between 95 to 100% occupied, that means you're in a shortage. You'll never be at 100% occupied. There's always going to be one apartment or one vacancy because people don't all move out on the same day. It's not like college where the semester's over. So 95 to 100% is shortage. 90 to 95 is considered stable, and under 90% is considered surplus. So within a 5-mile radius, 92% of the units here were developed prior to 1989. That means that 92% of the units are older than Sam and I. Next slide.
I was 86.
86, yeah, he's a little. Further, since 2018, after we both had kids, there's been 0 housing developments in Lathrop Village. There's only one new housing program, that's the Ivy, and that's in Berkeley, and it is completely sold out. So what we're showing there is that there's a high demand for housing, and there's very few housing being developed. So if you look at the housing stock from a big picture, you have an aging housing stock here, you have new developments, which is in blue, you have a clear demand for the new housing, which is at 0%, and an overall vacancy rated shortage. So we're at 97% of the units within this 5-mile radius are taken. So these are the information, not just to prove that there's a housing shortage, but this is what we look at as developers to say, okay, we think this project will work because we know when we get research reports like this, that this type of project will lease out because of the rates of vacancy taken up in our area. Of the 4,000 plus units, 97% overall. This is every single apartment complex in the units. It shows how much are there, and you can see it. It's a little small for many people in the audience, but these units, the majority of which are old, but even the ones that are super old, are still showcased, like from 1965, are still in shortage territory. So we believe that if we're able to rehabilitate an old school and build wonderful Class A units for everyone, people will move there, people will live there, because why wouldn't you want to live there in a very cool place right in the center of town versus something that was built in 1965 and is not as high class as ours. So benefits to a pilot program. This is straight from the resolution and from the state of Michigan. So why these programs exist. These programs have existed since the 1960s because they help communities. So just 4 quick ones. They increase the number of available workhouse housing units in the city. They encourage the expansion of the population. They facilitate the addition of attractive and valuable housing consistent with the city's master plan, which I think we've covered in depth. And we protect and improve the health, safety, and general welfare of the city's residents, businesses, ownership, property owners, and community as a whole. If we're able to put these units in and get more people, it's going to make Lathrop Village even more thriving, more businesses, more tax money, and more just general momentum coming to the city at a time that's very necessary. So a little bit overview of the site plan. This is the school. Obviously, it was built in 1927. This is a current state of the building. We are doing everything we can to keep this school upright. It's hard. There's no use for it right now. It's not a school. Every single time there's a weather break, we have to have Belfour and the insurance properties come out there, it is very expensive for us to maintain a building like this with zero revenue coming in, with not just property taxes, but just overall general risk, people breaking in and doing different things, and there's a hole in the roof, and now we gotta go and fix it, and for us, it's something where we feel that time is running out to save the school and build it into something special. So this is what it looks like now, and then this is the back side of it. So now what's considered the back, this is now going to be the front. So this is going to be the tenant entrance. So you can see there's all the scaffolding, there's all these busted windows. What we want to make this look like is something like this. So this would be a beautiful entry. You can see the school itself is being saved. The school will be an amenity for the residents. There'll be a gym, I'll show some pictures, co-working, workout facility, and then the apartments will flank the building on the side. So this is where residents will park. It'll be, you won't see it from Southfield Road. It'll be covered. The school will be featured from Southfield Road. And there'll be beautiful landscaping, and they'll be able to walk into the amenity part of the building. This is the side view taken from Lathrop Park, which is on city property. This is what it'll look like in the future. So you could see the school fully restored, the back expansion taken off, the chimney showcase, the brick showcase, the buildings, the trees, parking lot, and this is what the new tenant entrance would look like. So now it pictures off your parking, you're walking into the building. This is the current state of the hallways. This is what we want the new hallways to look like, the historic interior with areas to have coffee and do work and Wi-Fi and internet, a gym that we can play basketball and pickleball and do community plays and community events. This is the upstairs area, so the second level of the school, showcasing more community benefit, cafe. This is the gymnasium. I made a joke earlier. The school's so old, there's no three-point line on the basketball court. This is what it's going to look like when it's renovated. There's been a lot of discussion about these windows. We're going to be restoring those to their historic use. We love this picture. To me, it's the Lathrup Village Music Festival, maybe like a VIP session or something like that where we can actually bring in different musicians and host different events. This is one of the classrooms. As you can tell, it needs to be updated. This is what we want it to look like in terms of the workout facility. Again, an amenity for the tenants of the building. And historic. So we had a lot of talk. We worked really closely with the historic district to get this approved. This is what we call the historic notch. It's important for two reasons. One, it showcases the school. It was very important historic that we do everything we can to make the school still the focal point of this development, especially the chimneys and the brick and the architecture. But also we took off 3 units to this to make it more exposed and to show more brick up here. That was something that wasn't easy. We go through the finances coming up, and we lost 3 units on each side, and that hurts the overall finances of the project. But we wanted to do that because we believed it was the right thing to do, not just for the historic group, but to showcase the school, because that is ultimately what's really important to us, is saving the school. This is the Pewabic fireplace that's historic. We only have this picture. If anybody has anything else, we'd be interested. This is what it looks like now, and this is what we want to restore it back to its original form. So this is a place where we've offered to the Historic District Commission to host their meetings and other various city commissions if they want to, have an old school vibe and go back to the way this was. We're willing to restore it and put it back to the way it used to be with the Pewabic tiles, and create a place for, you'd have to rent it out because it's in the school and that's a tenant amenity, but we want it to be something that the city really can leverage and use. This is the Southfield side, so the historic entrance, just to kind of give you an idea for look with arts and green space. There's a certain amount of green space that we have to keep. That was part of the site plan. It's all there and approved. And then quick, just project specifics. We're going to have a property management team on hand 24/7. We've been working really closely with Lathrup Village Police. They've been excellent. We're going to install cameras and license plate readers and make sure that they're in the loop on everything that's going on there. The building itself is a tenancy building, so the actual school, the gym, all those places will be for the residents of the building. But there will be opportunities for residents of the community to rent it out and have it for special occasions. This is an overview of the site plan, so this kind of gives you an idea for how many units are in the building. There are different 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms, which we'll show you. Different prices for some based on where they are. There's some 1-bedrooms, for example, that are in a corner unit or a higher unit that might be more expensive than a 1-bedroom. That's in line. But this just kind of gives you an idea for the outline of how we're preserving the school and then how it all fits on the site plan. Okay, pilot overview. This is this was in the document that the commission sent out with the pilot. So there's a couple important things I want to address on this. So the first thing is, I think there's this notion about, well, okay, the taxable rate of this school would be in the $600,000 versus the pilot program rate, which is around $150,000. And it's a false prism to look at it through that way. We'll showcase it in a second. But the project itself does not stand on merit if we're taxed at the full amount. The amount of tax would be so egregiously high for the amount of rent we're allowed to charge for this unit, the project would negatively cash flow. So no developer at any rate would invest all this money and build all this thing for something that's going to lose money. And further, the state of Michigan, we wouldn't even qualify for a debt service ratio, which I'll cover in a second, by the state of Michigan until year 15 of the program. So doing this at a full tax rate, which is a number that would happen if this project could be built, is not a real great way of looking at it. Because it's an affordable housing unit, we qualify for this program and everything that Governor Whitmer is putting out there. We met with the city. We actually wanted a lower pilot percentage. We had some good faith negotiations. 4.5% was the landing point in our discussion between the two. This document says 4. We probably should add a line for 4.5. But we thought those conversations and negotiations with the city were fair and reasonable, and I'll go over the deal points, but we appreciated the way the city went about their business with it, and created a program that we think is good for Lathrup Village and in line with state requirements. So here's an overview of the deal terms that we discussed and put into a pilot resolution. Currently, we're paying about $22,000 a year in real estate taxes. We agreed to a 4.5 pilot percentage. Again, we wanted lower. In the beginning, there's a minimum of $120,000 that would go to the city, and then there's $158,000 roughly, between 152 and 158, depends on how many units we have, which we'll go through. These units have to be at 120% AMI, which means they have to be area media income. So there's a certain amount that you make that the state of Michigan sets as the area median income. If you make more money than that, you are not eligible to live in this location. Our hope is that if we can get the state financing, which is still a big if and depends on this pilot, but our hope is that we could start construction sometime in 2026. But something that's different that was negotiated by the city, which doesn't exist in Ferndale or in other recent cities that have done the pilot, is that we've agreed to pay the minimum yearly tax even before the building is fully built. So if you think about it, most programs, the way they work is you get 4.5% of the rent. But what's 4.5% of the rent if the building's not built? There's no rent, so it's zero. One of the things that was negotiated into this deal was that we're going to start paying $120,000 minimum credit as we build through construction for community benefits for different projects that would be completely up to the city for how they want to evaluate. And then once we start leasing and operating the building, they would get either the 4.5% or the minimum charge, and then it also increases by 5% or inflation, whatever is more. This is a list of all the pilots in Oakland County. There are 19 of them. As you can see, the majority of them are at 4%. Or less. Some are at 3 or 1%. Ours would fit in right there. Sorry, I really need to get LASIK. It's number 16, 15, 16 is where we're at. So this idea over the percentage, I think, needs to be viewed in context that we are actually a higher percent than the majority of other cities in Oakland County. We come in 16th out of 20th, and we're directly in line with what Ferndale approved last year in 2024 for less units. So their 4.5% is actually going to be less money because they're going to be getting less units and less revenue than what Lathrup Village has negotiated in here. So when we look at this and we look at the numbers, we feel confident that this is a good deal as it goes for pilots for the city, and it makes sense and it's consistent with other communities around us are doing. So just an overview, right now the city gets $22,000. That will immediately jump as soon as we can get started with construction, and it also gives Lathrup Village the opportunity to reallocate the share with the DDA. Because right now, taxes that we pay actually go 100% to the DDA. They don't go to Lathrup Village at all. So if nothing happens on this project, DDA is going to continue to collect their share. And what we're hoping for is give the opportunity to Lathrup Village to actually reallocate how that share is going. And my understanding is the DDA is open-minded and they can work something out without our involvement. Debt funding sources. Okay, so Sam's going to go into a whole spreadsheet on this, but I just kind of want to showcase our proposal to the state of Michigan is to get about $37 million from the state in a favorable loan that exists as part of these affordable housing loans that Governor Whitmer is giving out to build these types of projects because she realizes that there's a housing shortage. We as the developer are putting in $4.2 million. Lathrop Village is helping with the pilot, but the taxes are going up. There's no money from Lathrop Village actually going to this development. There is obviously an increase in real estate, and there's that false prism I talked about of theoretical money that could happen with a higher pilot percentage, but that's not money in the door. The total debt service, so how much we're going to owe to pay back that taxes, is about $2.1 million, and I'll come back to that number. But first, I want to say, there's been talk about, well, there's other opportunities, there's other things. I don't want to speak for Sam, but if somebody else wanted to make us an offer for $4 million or 4.2 for this project, please call us. We would take it. We were interested, and that would be fine. Instead, are you cool with that? The 4.2 million. I want to do it. The 4.2 million is a serious investment for us. We're not a gigantic company. It's a lot of money for us to put in. And when you look at the yield, which is coming up in a second, you'll see even if we put more money in than the $4 million, it doesn't make sense to do that, not only in comparison to other real estate projects we could do, but it doesn't make sense to do that in terms of just putting it into a treasury bill or something that's ultra safe. And this development obviously is not ultra safe because we have to build it and lease it and manage it and make sure it's great for the community and make sure it works for everybody. So this is the timeline if this gets approved, just to put it in notion. Our hope is to finalize state, local, conventional financing in 2025. So if we're able to get the pilot approved, our next step is we go to the state of Michigan and MSHDA and go for those $37 million worth of loans. Our hope then is to start construction in 2026. We would be ongoing construction in 27 and 28, and then this building would be up and being leased and lived in 2029. As it relates to Lathrop Village and how the payments are going to work, it'd be the normal taxes in 2025, obviously, and in 2026, but we've agreed to pay the service charge in 2027, in 2028, the service charge plus the cost of inflation, and then in 2029, the higher of the pilot or the service charge. So revenue to Lathrop Village would start even before we start making our own money back on the project. And then this shows the pilot rate. So I know there's been questions about the various pilot rates. We'll get into the debt service, and we'll share the information. But as you can see, we have to keep a certain debt service ratio in order to make this project attainable. So if you think about it from MSHDA's perspective, they don't want to spend a bunch of tax money from the state of Michigan, especially people who don't live in Lathrop Village or Oakland County, for a project that's going to fail. They need to have full confidence that this project is going to lease and we're going to be able to pay them back. Otherwise, they got a bigger problem on their hands than even we do. So they require us to have a certain debt service ratio, which is about 1.2%. At a 4% pilot, a 4.5% pilot, we can do this just barely. We scrape by in years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If we start increasing to 5, 6, 7, 8, you can see from the red numbers, we don't make our debt service ratio. This becomes an unfundable project by MSHDA, and they'll say no problem, but there's a whole long list of other communities that want to participate in this, and we'll just move on to the ones that have the debt service ratio that we need. Okay, just a quick deep dive in terms of math for everyone. We have a spreadsheet, but maybe this is helpful for some people. I'm not as great as Excel sheet as I am in PowerPoint. This is an idea for the bedrooms that we have, the apartment units, the square feet, the rough monthly rent. This is going to change, obviously, over time in AMAs. But the gross rent we collect is around $3.3 million for the whole project. The pilot calculation then would be that $3.3 million in gross rent collected times 4.5%, approximately $152,000 a year. The net operating income we make is the total project revenue minus our operating expenses. So total project revenue is all the rent we collect plus, we put in $155,000 for renting out the building and various corporate events, things like that. So we got to about $3.5 million. If you subtract the operating expenses, so this is an overview of our operating expenses with the pilot, it's about $976,000 a year in operating expenses. And this is, by the way, this is like, I know it's very detailed, but we promise transparency, and this is a deep dive into real estate finance and economics. So if I'm going too fast, I apologize, but I'm trying to squeeze it all in for everybody. So our net operating income on the project would be our total project revenue, so 3.5 minus that 974. So everyone's like, oh, sweet, you guys are making like $2 million. That's great. Crushed it. Yeah. But the problem is we owe state of Michigan, back to the earlier side with the $37 million that we have to loan to do this, we're going to owe the state of Michigan $2.1 million a year. So all of a sudden, that net operating income goes way down. And that's where the debt service ratio comes back into play, because we need to be able to prove back to them that we can pay them back the money that they're lending us. So if you look again, it's 2.1 million, 4.2 that we're putting in. If you look back at the debt service ratio here, it's 1.2 on the nose. So we are skinning this thing as close as we can to make it work with those expenses, with those revenues. Again, we can't just charge as much as we want because the state of Michigan makes us keep the money to be affordable housing. So if you go from there and you look at the debt service ratios, and this is again 100% occupancy, so the onus is on us to lease this thing out. Lathrup Village is going to get paid every single year no matter what. We can make this work at a 4.5% pilot and hit the debt service ratio. It's kind of like a Goldilocks situation for us. These loans exist. The state of Michigan is interested. We have this historic school. We've made a ton of progress. If we can get this pilot to work for everybody, we can make the finances work for Mishta. And hopefully, if we do a good job on our end, developing it and leasing and keeping it a highly livable and highly desirable place, we can make enough to make it work. But if you think about the yield on the project, it's a 5% yield. So why is that important? Because if you could take the $42 million, you could just invest it in a government bond or a CD or a money market rate, and you could make that 5% no matter what, without any risk, without having to go to 100 study sessions in city councils. And you have to worry about it. So even if we put more money, it's very easy to say, well, you guys are putting $4 million in, put 10 million, put 20 million. Well, why would you do that into something like this if you could take that money and put it into elsewhere? It's already a significant chunk of money, and the yield itself is at the bottom of the barrel. And Mishta also doesn't want us to make that much money, because then it wouldn't make sense for them to loan to us either. So if you look at the expenses without the pilot program, so this is the full tax rate, it jumps our expenses to 1.4 million. Our cash flows immediately turn negative. Our debt service ratio is under 1. And every single year, it's just all in the red, and we don't even get to the 1.2 debt service ratio until year 15. So if we did a project like this, straight up, we wouldn't, because we'd be out of business. So there's a couple other things about community benefits. I did a deep dive on finances. I want to stop for 1 second. There's only a couple more slides left. I know I went ham.
You went hard.
Do you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, we can continue to go. The only, Jordan did a great job showing the numbers, and I also think, without going on too long of a rant, that, oh, I'm sorry, Sam Cerno. So I think just kind of taking a step back, I mean, we've all come very far, and I think not just, I'm extremely proud of my team and the effort, but really everybody. I mean, the Planning Commission, the community, every single person in this room, whether we agree or whether we don't agree with one another, cares about this community. And, I think that everybody in here, comes from a good place and trying to do what's best for the city. I mean, every single person in here, and not just with this development, I mean, with the stuff that we've done, I mean, the Panera and the PUD and going through historic, I mean, it's been quite a journey. And I do just think it's worth it for us to just take a step back and appreciate that regardless of what happens with this project, I appreciate the amount of care and all the time and the energy that everybody in this room has put into this. I mean, it really is amazing to think how many years, everybody's been working through, various ways to improve this community. And, ultimately, I'm a believer if things are meant to be, they're meant to be. And when it comes to this project, normally we would never disclose, this amount of information to anybody outside of our own, private internal records. But this happens to be a situation that falls under an eligibility, which is, I think, one of the main reasons why the state of Michigan passed this legislature. And so if we want to go after the loans and we want to go after grants or anything that either the county or the state has made available, we have to be completely transparent. So our construction budget, our income, all of the numbers that we put into this deck were submitted to the state. So they have all this information, and they obviously scrutinize everything. So we can, of course, go into more detail on any of these numbers, but typically, you see these types of expenses and income and rental numbers and market studies and all of these analysis, and we could go on forever about all of the detail that went into this, but I think this is a really good effort on everyone's part to just try and open up the kimono and show you guys what it is that we're trying to do. And I think, like Jordan said, I mean, regardless of how much equity, how much, even if we put in the entire $42 million, which I wish I had, the project itself, based on a 4.5% pilot, bringing in 2.5 yields, it's between a 5 and a 6%, depending on the fluctuations of rental and things like that. But this isn't like we've done this completely in a vacuum. We've taken this to other developers. This is not like, I mean, you guys are familiar with, some of the bigger developers out there in multifamily, and those types of deals demand either a very high single digit or a, low to mid double digit return. So when you bring up a project, and we did what we could, I mean, to, with the school to try and make it as, we originally had, 20 different units in the school. This thing has gone through so many different site plans. And there's a lot of, I think, mixed things that we have heard about how much people actually care about saving the school. I think a majority of the people in this community, including us, do care about saving it. And that obviously impacts the cost. I mean, it impacts the cost of the project. And I think that creating something like this is going to be transformational. And yes, multifamily and this, I'd say this market area that we call it is pretty commoditized. But I think that saving a building that was built in 1927 and being able to do the things that we've been talking about and showcasing it, I think will really create a standout experience. And I think it will do a lot of great things for this community. So I can go into the numbers and I can go through the spreadsheet. I thought you did a great job summarizing it, but this was based on, I mean, is there a way to like show the?
Yeah. Can we get the spreadsheet up?
Yeah. So it's probably a little hard to see, but this is based on what we're calling a stabilized year. So this doesn't include like the ramp up period that you would typically see when a project is done for the first 12 months. What we wanted to do, and this is the form that we submitted to the state, is say, hey, in year one, assuming that we're getting the rents that we're trying to collect, and assuming a 0% vacancy. I mean, like Jordan said, you almost never see a 0% vacancy. Typically, you see between 5 and 7%, which is called stable. What we wanted to be able to do is say, hey, we've got this 0% vacancy, assuming everything was 100% leased, with a very benchmarkable operating expense lineup. You see the 974 that Jordan showed. The other thing I want to point out is typically every single year you see what's called replacement reserves that are, the cost that you would put into, just turnover. And that can range between, maybe in the first year it may not be as high, but typically you see, in a deal like this, maybe $50,000 or $60,000 a year across 145 units. It's a pretty normal amount. And what we were basically saying is, let's just, we basically made it 0. We had to put in some number. But that $2.5 million that we have been going through and explaining, like, it's a very aggressive approach, okay? And the reason that I think it's important to show it in this format is because this wasn't just, a presentation that we slapped on a PowerPoint. I mean, this went through a heavy underwriting by us and through Mishta and their team. And, it's, the point of what we're trying to say is that 150,000 is roughly that 4.5% pilot, and the 2.5, if you could scroll down a little, whoever's driving, that's where you get that 1.2, and the 2.1 million in debt. There's a tab to the left called sources and uses. The 2.1 in annual debt service, it's one just to the left of the cash flow. Oh, I can do it? Oh, sweet. Oops. All right. It's a lot harder to do this on a slant. So right now, the loans that you would, thank you, see. All right, I give up. Just kidding. We never give up. All right, the loans that we're talking about, these loans that we kind of showed in the presentation, these numbers came from the MISTA team, and what you can see is, you know, a $31.5 million loan at 5%, you would never, like right now in today's world, you would never be able to get that through a conventional lending source. A lot of these loans that you would go through, whether it's through a bank or a life company, are based, you know, they're pegged on a benchmark like the U.S. Treasury. The U.S. Treasury, I know it did go down a little bit, but right now you're in the mid-4s, and then they charge a spread on top of that. So typically you're in the high 6s, maybe low 7s, depending on the type of loan that you're going to get. For us to be able to get a $31.5 million loan in a 5% range, and then also what they have is this they're calling it a revolver, but basically they're offering another 6.3, okay, at a 5%. I mean, you're basically at a you know, you change this interest rate up by 1%, and I can't do it on here. But if someone were to just put like a 6 or something like that, oh, I can click on it. I mean, not even 6.5, just do 6%. You can see now your debt service jumps, and if we go back to the sources and uses, you're falling down to the 1.07. And I think that what we're trying to demonstrate is that, you know, there has to be, I mean, it's a very, very, it's an aggressive model, and I just think it demonstrates how sensitive it is to being, I mean, that's why these programs exist. I also think that, you know, just talking through and just hearing, you know, Jordan speak about this in the 120 AMI, we're not doing an affordable housing. I think that word sometimes gets, you know, thrown around. I mean, this is really an attainable housing project, which is based on, like you said, 120% AMI. And that's basically why we're eligible for this type of loan. And I think that it's just, again, to be able to show in the capital stack, you know, that the state is, you know, really invested in trying to make this work. And even not just this community, but we've worked with MISTA now for a while. We've worked with other groups like the Oakland County Trust Fund. We've worked with the MEDC. And we've been basically just trying to go after anybody that would be willing to invest in this project. Oakland County Trust Fund has been very interested, but their funding has dried up. MISTA, you know, a year and a half ago, there was what was called the missing middle. This project, we actually filled out the same application as the missing middle, but the grant money dried up. So now there's this program called CPE that I think there is one of 2 projects that they are considering, and I think that we are right now, you know, kind of, I think in the lead of trying to get something like this happen. And so the point I'm making is that, you know, the 150,000, if you were to change, I mean, if you were to change any of these, you know, 150 and you were to put in the normal tax rate, or you were to put in a 6% pilot, it's just, to me, I think that the numbers show a really good story of like this being feasible. And the reality is we are going to have replacement reserves. We are going to have other expenses that are going to be in here. And, you know, I think that, you know, it's to us, we are determined that if this does pass, whether it's tonight, which we're hoping, that we are going to, you know, figure out a way to take this forward and get it through the state so that we can move forward. So I don't know if there's anything else on the numbers. We can obviously come back to it, but I'll go back to the presentation. Is there anything else you think I need to cover?
Just one thing, I think Sam made a point about attainable housing, which I think is important. And just so everyone knows, 120% AMI. Area median income would be 100%. So up to 120 means these people are making up to 20% more than the median income. So it's not a low income or anything like that. This is going to be for people who are making around the average median for this area. Okay, community benefits. So a couple just last slides, and we can open up for city council questions. We know that there's a ton of benefit that's going on for this project. Obviously, bringing more residents, helping make the village get more taxes overall, the health of the businesses, the services. But we've also been talking about different things in terms of the walking path. So Annie Lathrup Park is behind our project. It's city property. It's not our property. So there's a natural buffer zone between the apartments and the school. So this is what it looks like right now. So this was taken from the way edge of Annie Lathrup Park. You could see the walking path, which we're offering to enhance and make necessary as part of the community benefit. Part of our minimum service payment that we're going to make before this project even goes could be open to the city to decide what you want to do. But this kind of, number one, shows how far away the project actually would be from the residents, because there's a whole line of trees that you can't see off screen before a bunch of backyards and then homes. But this also gives an idea for what we want it to turn into. So the beautification of this park and turning it back into a community asset is something that we think would be spectacular for the city. This is an area where we can do farmers markets, different events. This will be open. There'll be beautiful landscaping on it. And yes, the project is adjacent to the park, but I think that's all the more reason for us to be co-incentivized to make it more beautiful than it is today. And just in summary, just in terms of like the project qualifications and the benefits, hopefully Sam and I were able to showcase the need for housing here in Lathrup Village in a 5-mile radius. The ability for this to bring significant commercial renovation and revitalization, the affordable housing development that we believe could lease and be a thriving part of this community, expansion of the city, improvement of the tax situation that's going on, and overall just saving the school and making this something that everyone is proud of and can help be a facilitator and really an igniter for what the next 50 years of Lathrup Village is looking at. I know it's always easy to look back and wish things were the way they were for whatever reason, whether that's in school or life or family or anything like that. But what we try to do in real estate development is have a vision and see into the future and try to build something. And something Sam and I actually said the other day, I stole it from Mike Posner, but he said, not all crazy ideas are good, but all good ideas are crazy. And I think taking this old school and redeveloping it and rehabbing it and turning it into these units, it's a crazy idea on the surface, but I think in the end it's not just going to be good, it's going to be great. And something that we're going to be really proud of. And despite all the risks associated with it, our belief in the community and in the council and the commissions and everything, we want to make this project work, and we're hoping that tonight will be a step forward in that direction.
Thank you. Now we're open to the public hearing, and you want to come to the microphone and state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Jonathan Terry. I'm encouraged by the changes that have been made, the movement that has been made. I just wanted to make a few points. Not everyone here knows this, probably nobody knows this, but I have a deep personal experience with multi-tenant housing and historic preservation. This is the first time in my life I've ever lived in a single family home. Okay, you see I'm wearing a Dally in the Alley shirt. I lived on this alley when I was attending school. We lived in apartments in Detroit when I was young. I came here from the historic former El Cortez Hotel in San Diego, which is a nationally listed property. So I know about living in historic housing, and I know about failures of historic and other housing. I was in San Diego in 2008. Okay, I was in San Diego in 2018. There were holes in the ground that were put there in 2008 and were never filled until 2018. Things happen. So I do have concerns about, I know that in construction, the money, you don't get all that money up front, right, on the loan. It's doled out with progress. Things happen. Banks walk away. Fortunately, some of this is government funded, but governments go bankrupt too. Things happen. So I just want to make sure that they're considering that. There was mention of the Ivy. If the aesthetics of the entire project were as nice as the Ivy, I'd be all for it. I haven't heard any mention of preservation grants. They are a thing in Michigan. So it may not be a lot of money, but it's something. The other thing is that what I call the 15-year time bomb. I realize that, you know, yes, some of the financing is 10 years, and there's going to be a chunk paid off in 10 years, but the bulk of the financing is 40 years, right? So the taxes, at least in theory, kick in 15 years, and you've got, you know, many more years of debt service. You know, I hope that's all been, you know, and I haven't looked at the spreadsheets in detail, so I hope that is something that can be seen in the spreadsheets and shown to be, you know, actually workable.
Thank you. Who would like to be heard next?
Carrie Harris, Cambridge Boulevard. Once again, thank you for a very comprehensive explanation. Oh my gosh. I am really excited that the pilot didn't stop at 4% and went up to 4.5. I think that's good faith on Cernal's side and with whoever they were dealing with on our side. And the thought of having the extra $120,000 that would be coming to the city rather than the DDA before the project is even opened up to the public is just a win-win-win. I want you to go forward. Let's get the shovels in the ground and get going. I am excited about this project, and I'd like to see it finished quick.
Thank you. Who else would like to be heard?
Hi again, Timothy Hillman, San Quentin. A few points, and these are neither in support or not of this development or the pilot agreement that's been proposed, but I do want to clarify a few things. One, the presentation mentions the lack of housing turnover in Lathrup Village as part of the property tax challenges our city faces, but that's a misconception. 50% of the homes in Lathrup Village could sell tomorrow, and the city will not benefit tax-wise from those sales. So I think it's a moot point to this conversation, and it's at odds with the broader community conversation we're having about Headley. So I just wanted to correct that for the record. Second, the Shepherd House project came up. It's the project in Ferndale that also has a 4.5% pilot rate. I do want to point out that that's not just an affordable housing project, like this would be an affordable housing project. It's senior housing, and it's senior housing that's specifically marketed to the LGBTQ plus seniors that have historically dwelled in the city of Ferndale. So there's a mission to that project, and I think that mission is really inseparable from the support it's received in that community. So I don't know that from a mission perspective, it's a fair apples to apples comparison, but of course the pilot agreement was approved at the same rate that this one is. So it makes sense in one context to me, but not in the other. Finally, just a request from council, assuming that you'll make a decision on this matter tonight. The presentation is long, and I think it would be helpful to me and probably many other members of the community if it could be briefly summarized, the progress of this negotiation. Where did it start? How did it end up where it is now? Who conceded what along the way? And most importantly for residents, why we feel good about where the negotiation has landed. So kind of an elevator pitch summary of that would be very helpful. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Larry Sherman, attorney for the Cernal Company. I was going to wait until the rest of the public comments came in, but I wanted to address Mr. Hillman's issue. First of all, I have the same last name as Jordan Sherman because I'm proud to say I'm his father. But the reason why I'm an attorney for the Cernal Company is not because I'm his father, is because I've been the city attorney in Madison Heights for 38 years, and we've had many pilot projects. So any characterization of this legislation by the state that has been in effect from 1966, that this is some type of albatross or unicorn, is mistaken. This is a tremendous financing tool put forth by the state of Michigan to revitalize properties just like the Annie Lathrup School. That's why the governor, who issues multiple press releases every day, crows about and is proud of all of this state financing through MISHDA and the Michigan Economic Development Council when they approve one of these projects. And in this case, the project is a win-win-win for everyone. And I wanted to mention that in Madison Heights, since the 1970s, we have had a minimum of a half a dozen pilots. We're a neighboring community to Lathrup. We have used this to our advantage. We have developed multiple senior high-rise towers. Yes, we've had some low-income pilots too. We even have a pilot with SACRA, the Waste Hauling Consortium, of them paying payment in lieu of taxes, and it's worked wonderfully. And so the notion that somehow the city is giving away benefits here is really misplaced. And the history of the negotiation is as follows. We met and worked very closely with city staff. We talked about all these issues. We went over the pro forma as to what it would take to make this deal work. The city made a proposal of 4.5% and included something that which was the same as Ferndale, but included a benefit to the city of starting pilot payments of $120,000 the year after the construction commences. Ferndale doesn't have that. That is a complete benefit to the community, aside from the community benefits we've talked about enhancing the city's park. And that escalates, because otherwise, all you would be paying in taxes, ad valorem taxes, would be what's in place on the tax year in question. So this is something that the city proposed and the developer accepted. And the reason why we did is because it's fair and reasonable. And it makes the project work. We've come a long way to revitalize a great historical building, and I'm hoping council will see this, see the benefit to everyone.
Thank you. Who would like to be heard next? Just take up more space.
Hello.
Hello.
Lillian Kaiser Lowry. A couple of things in the documentation. He mentioned there was one page where it says 4%, but there's some other pages I saw where it's 4%, and we need to make sure that those are correct and make sure that math is that 152 that's on that page. I think it's great, and what people need to look at, you have opportunity cost. We can let that building sit there and deteriorate, or we can take advantage of this opportunity and build something that's going to give us some revenue that we've been looking for, and having all these meetings about the city's finances. Just from a community benefit, just a couple things to add. He mentioned the event space. Make sure that we do get access to the event space as residents. And then I had a question about the rent rates. They're not, as they said, there's not really affordable, but if the rent increases each year, does that impact the amount of money we get from a tax perspective? I think that should be put in the documentation so that we're aware. And then how much does the developer get out of this is another question. And then the final question, there was in the email the other day that Mike sent. I love your emails and appreciate them. In those emails, he mentioned that they're looking for a developer. So is this the same project? Is something different? Okay, perfect. All right, that's all that I have, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard?
Shelley Reeves, and I'm on California. I prepared some words because in previous meetings I get distracted, and this matter's really close to my heart, so bear with me. Cernow began telling us tonight how risky this plan is, and that, you know, no one else wants to bother with it, but then within almost the same breath told us how confident they are with leasing at 100% because of a housing shortage. And that double talk kind of makes my ears perk up. But nonetheless, They know that this is a deal. And they did a great job trying to sell us this idea that it's good for us too. This, I believe, is not the only option for this property. I know that they've invested a lot of time and effort and that they're all throughout our city. I don't doubt their sincerity with that. But I just want to also acknowledge that our city has kind of rolled out the red carpet, so to speak, whether that was approving ordinances, paving the way. So I really don't expect a no vote tonight, although I'll ask for that. It might sound like a creative tool to encourage investment, but in reality, it's a tax break for a developer at the expense of residents. When a developer pays less, that means less money for funding schools, police, fire, and infrastructure, and the rest of us make up that difference. The bottom line is this isn't fair. Homeowners and small businesses in the city pay their fair share of taxes. So why should a well-financed developer get a special deal while the community shoulders the burden? The new apartments are gonna bring more traffic and more demand on our services, and that if the developer isn't paying unfairly, that cost will shift to us. We want growth, but it should be sustainable and equitable. Developers who profit here should contribute their fair share, just like every other family and small business does. Please protect our community and vote no against this pilot. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Ann Clark, Wiltshire Boulevard. So I just had a few things that were just questions, things to think about. The difference between attainable and affordable, the wording throughout was confusing for me. Looking at the AMI and what's considered affordable, and then it was clarified by the Cernals that it's more considered attainable. So if rent increases, when do we start to border from attainable to unattainable for residents? And then another thing was on their slideshow, permanent jobs and job creation. What does that look like? I know there was like a mention of having like managers on site, different things, probably like landscaping, things like that. But long-term, how is that, benefiting our city? How much jobs is that actually bringing in? The question of access, will we retain access to be able to use those shared community spaces that were mentioned previously? I think that's a big thing because it could be advertised as that is what's going to happen now, and then they get the building and it's like, actually, you aren't able to rent this space. Would the city get discounts to renting that space? Because that could be something that's very right next to us. That would be really nice if we wanted to have, gatherings like he mentioned with the previous music festival that happened last weekend. If we were to expand upon that, what that would look like. And then another thing that was mentioned with the 4.5% pilot with Ferndale and us. Ferndale is 3.8 square miles compared to, I think we're 1.2, and they're probably in a different financial state. So what that looks like for us may be different, as well as what was expanded upon with the missions being different. So kind of like what you said, like the apples and oranges comparison with all of that. And how long is it going to take to get the MISTA approval? I know you guys mentioned that been working with them and their team, but you still have to apply. What does that look like? Is that leaning more on the side of guarantee or not? And then what would happen if that funding wasn't to get approved? What position would we be left in as a city? And what is the likelihood that you would get the development grant from the state, assuming that we go through with the pilot? I just think that's something to think about, because if one piece of the plan falls, where are we left as a city? Where does our money go, especially since we are kind of in not a great financial position? Thank you.
Anyone else want to be heard?
Well, I have a whole host of questions, but before I get to those, I'll get to those later if I can't do it now. I want to talk about some of the things that the Cerno said to you just now. Sam talks about how they have this commitment to preservation. Cast your mind back. Let's not have collective amnesia to a previous council meeting where he said if they didn't get what they wanted, he'd just tear the building down. That's quite different to what his dad was doing in the years just before his death, when there was talk that he might turn it over to the city, but of course the city didn't want to do the preservation work and go out and get the grants and things to repurpose the building. So I think that's important to remember, this threat to destroy it if he doesn't get what he wants. The Birmingham church he talks about as preservation. If you've ever seen that church before and you see that building now, it's unrecognizable. The only real preservation project they've done is the post office on Martin Street, and that's because it's opposite the historic library entrance. It's next to a church. It's opposite Shane Park. It's by Baldwin House. They couldn't if they wanted to. But what he did with that building is what the Historical Society, before it was hostile takeover and shut down in terms of preservation, that's exactly what we were talking about with the school. That's exactly what we wanted, a mixed use. And the Historical Society was going to expand the historic district and work to have this kind of thing happen. So there's lots of things that could have been done with that school. I think it's important to recognize when you see these pictures that Sam shows you, the mess it's in now is when the Cernos took over. My mother was the last person to walk out the door of that school when it was still part of the Southfield schools. And I can assure you I have photographs and things of what it looked like then. But the Cernos, they've got different companies, and one was called Akiva, and they put this Akiva school in. I've got the documentation from the county, but I left it at home. And it was under Akiva that the real mess began. Then there was a Christian school. So it was under their ownership that these photos that you see now look nothing whatsoever what the school was like the last day it was in public ownership. And I think that's important to recognize. I also have a difficulty when they keep comparing us to Madison Heights, to this, to that. It's a 1.5 square mile bedroom community. And anyone that tries to compare it with anything but a 1.5 square mile bedroom community with much bigger communities is seeking to lead you on. I'd point out that the rents that are being posted for a 2-bedroom apartment are below the rates in Birmingham, Beverly Hills, Royal Oak. It's not going to be an upmarket development. And there's a real concern if you don't fill them, how much they'll have to lower it just to fill the place up. It's not a community asset either. It's a public building that was a public asset that is no more. I have a whole bunch of questions. I won't get through them all, so I'm going to just start asking them of the council. Please answer them. First of all, what is the written documentation from the Cerno company that they reached out to Preservation Michigan?
Thank you.
I'll get to those later.
Anyone else want to be heard?
John Suzanne's Rainbow Tribe. I heard the term win-win-win, and I think I understood who the wins were for. You know, the Cernos, the population that we want to serve, the sort of state social program that I think has value and merit. But the one group that I don't see a win for here, or at least I didn't see it expanded upon at all, is the residents. I think when you look at the impact it's going to have on the existing residents, it's going to be much more than just having a park that we have now nicer. I think there's going to be a lot of negative impact. There's going to be traffic impact. There's going to be stress on our public safety. And those are just facts. You bring in that many people and you put them in that small of a space. So I would just like to see more discussion around how can this project, if it goes forward, really bring benefit not only to the groups that we're sort of, this project is for, but also for the rest of us who are going to have to end up paying a price of some kind, whether it's the quality of life or just the daily commutes, those types of things. I think that's something that we really want to make sure we really understand. And I do wonder, just on a since we talked about so many numbers, have we looked into the potential impact on property values of this? Has anybody done a study or looked into other communities where this happens? We can't afford to always be selfish, but I think it's something that we should at least have the data on, or at least be considering those types of things. So that's my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to be heard? Okay, there is a letter from someone from Southfield, and I cannot find it. You put it in one of our packets, if anybody can find it.
Yeah, I actually had it up earlier.
Thank you.
Last study session.
It was last study session. So that was September 8th? Okay, thank you.
I think I have it here from August, emails from August 28th.
Yeah, it would have been before I left, so end of August.
So
Yeah, I found it.
well, you can go ahead and read it.
This is from Justin Hindo. Lathrup, the subject is Lathrup Village City Council against Workforce Housing Pilot. It's addressed to the city clerk, so it says, "Hello, Elisa. I hope you're well. I am writing with regard to the proposed workforce housing pilot that will be discussed at the city council hearing on September 15th, 2025. While I'm not a Lathrup Village resident, I'm a homeowner in Southfield. What you decide here absolutely affects me, my neighbors, and the region as a whole. Regional fairness. Southfield homeowners already carry one of the highest property tax burdens in the state, and many of us feel our services don't reflect that. When a city like Lathrup Village grants a pilot, it means developers there pay far less in taxes than homeowners like me pay just across the street. That isn't fair, not to your residents and not to your neighbors. It creates a two-tier system where everyday taxpayers pay full freight while developers get a discount. Regional services and spillover. Even though I don't pay taxes in Lathrup, I will still feel the effects of your decision. Workforce housing residents will drive on the same regional roads, shop in our shared retail corridors, and use interconnected services like water and emergency response. But under a pilot, those developments won't be paying their full share to support that infrastructure. Who makes up the difference? Your constituents and taxpayers like me in Southfield. Precedent and pressure. Pilots set a dangerous precedent. If Lathrup grants them, Southfield will be pressured to do the same. And once the city starts giving away tax revenue to developers, who's left paying the real bill? Homeowners, families, long-term residents, people who don't have the luxury of negotiating their own tax rate. Those who elected you with hope that you will make the city better for the residents that already live there. That's what we're all afraid of. I urge you and your colleagues to think carefully about this decision. Pilots may look like easy incentives, but they shift the tax burden onto the people who can least afford it, the existing residents who already keep this city running. As your neighbor and as someone already overtaxed in Southfield, I'm asking you to protect your community, protect your tax base, and reject this workforce housing pilot. Thank you for your time and attention, Elisa. Hope to hear from you soon. Kind regards, Justin Hindo.
Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard? Okay.
Don Eckstead. Some of the issues that say, well, if we use this or get this pilot program, that'll bring more pilot programs to Lathrup Village. I don't think so, because we don't have any other vacant commercial property that'll be used on. This is a one-time deal. No is the answer.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to be heard? Okay, closing the hearing. And we're going to go into the action item of. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-18, a resolution to approve tax exemption and a payment in lieu of taxes for a workforce housing project to be located at 27700 Southfield Road.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I've got some questions.
I have some questions.
Yeah, I have questions.
Okay.
So we've all got questions.
I would like Sam and Jordan to come back because there's questions that need to be answered that we can't answer. That was from some of the people from the hearing, if you don't mind. Or one, I'm not like making both of you all come, but it's up to you. The first one was the preservation grants, right, Jonathan?
So, I think they might be referring to like the historic tax credits, and typically the way that it works is you're eligible for 20% of what you actually do, which is, qualified. There's a couple of architects and firms, so I'm not sure if anybody's heard of Kramer, but they've done a lot of work in Detroit. They've done a considerable amount of historic renovations throughout the state, specifically Detroit. And there are firms like Plant Moran that actually provide, you know, tax, accounting, consultant services. And we have consulted, you know, I don't know, a number of years ago about whether or not this project was eligible for historic tax credit. The actual work that we're doing to the school, again, the benchmarks that we have been given, you need to really, if you were doing, you know, $10 million of renovation to a historic structure, and there's things that are not just what are required for the outside, but also the inside, you know, the facade that we're keeping on the original 1926 structure, the work that we're trying to do in the kindergarten room, and arguably inside the gymnasium, only bring, I think, like what would be considered like $900,000 in historic tax credit, but there's also a cost to get the historic tax credit. And so basically, you really need to be at a point where you're going to get at least like $1.5 to $2 million. And so it was actually brought up when we were going through the HDC process. And we went back and looked again, consulted with, his name's Brian Reamer, he's an expert in, you know, historic tax credits, and, you know, with Plant Moran. And it's just, unfortunately, it's yet another avenue we explored. And of course, if that were something that we could get and plug into the capital stack, of course we would go through that. But we've been advised that it's not worth it, and that's why we didn't go and try and obtain it, so.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, okay. Can
I piggyback on that? 'Cause
Sure.
I have a kind of related question. So,
Sure.
because it's been asked, and I think you guys have talked in other council meetings about other ways that you attempted to use the school building over the last 10 or 15 years. But could you like summarize that a little bit? I mean, obviously, historic preservation grants is one thing, but like, did you look at retail? Did you look at like things other than housing?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, we originally, I shouldn't say originally, but this morphed from even trying to do something where we integrated this property and this building. We had Stantec, which was, again, another prominent architecture firm in the state of Michigan. They do a lot of things based out of the city of Detroit. We looked at trying to do a swap and basically create a portion of the city hall in the school, and ended up being really complicated. There were also the deed restrictions that we ran into with the Southfield school district, with the park. But in terms of other uses, the most recent one was about a year ago, and the nonprofit that was looking and making it their headquarters, at least in Michigan, is called Samaritas. And they basically, the idea of the school was perfect because of the classrooms and the different ways that they can kind of break up. And that's a nonprofit that basically kind of reunites, you know, kids and family members with other family members that have either had like, you know, abuse or other types of issues that either had to go away, et cetera. And we did multiple tours with them. And it's, again, in concept, when you think about the idea of this beautiful historic building, it generates interest. But when you walk into the school and you see the challenge, it's not just the fact that some of the you know, classrooms obviously are falling apart. I mean, there's other areas. The bones of the school are good bones, but there are, you know, the systems are, it's functionally obsolete. And so what we've run into time and time again is that this is it's too much of a monstrosity of a project. I shouldn't say monstrosity, but it's an overwhelming project for people to come in and make sense. Samaritas is one of the largest, you know, nonprofits, you know, in the country, and for them to say, hey, we can't do it. We've had breweries that have come in. What's Sklar's hospitality group?
Peas and Carrots.
Peas and Carrots Hospitality wanted to come in and just make it an event center, so we went through with their architect. We've had other schools. There was I think it was the George Washington School that looked at it a couple of years ago. We've had a number of like, you know, kind of co-working, mixed use. There was another multifamily developer that came and looked at it. I don't think they submitted for site plan, but they were looking at turning it into a multifamily, a market rate one, with no assistance. They ended up passing on it. You know, the list goes on. I mean, those are all the ones that I can recall, but we've had our sign out there that has said for lease or for sale for years. And again, it turns into, oh yeah, it's very interesting. It's a beautiful building. It's on Southfield Road. You can't miss it. But when it actually comes down to the details, it's been really hard. And we've been open to either leasing it or selling it. And we've just had a lot of challenges. And I think even, again, with this project, it's not like we just, put this on paper. It's evolved over the last however many years. And so, we still have the sign out there.
Can I just ask for a clarification of that? How many years? Because I've been here 30 years, and I am having a hard time remembering any time that building was
So,
being. I remember
we
there
bought
was a
it from
school, there was
Akiva.
there for,
We
for
bought
a
it from
minute.
Akiva. That's why the we bought it.
Excuse me.
We bought it
Don't
from
interrupt any
the
longer.
Akiva school, and I believe at the time the Akiva Day School was there, and then there was a charter school that was there, and then in 2013 or 12 is when they left, and it's been vacant ever since.
So how long have you owned it?
1997 or 1998.
Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to remember, for the entire time I've lived in Lathrup, it has been, there's never been anybody there for more than a minute.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as of a couple of weeks ago, a real estate developer had reached out, about some kind of sports, venue that they want to turn it into. And again, we're always trying to keep an open mind to anybody that has an interest in it. There was a religious organization in 2022 that wanted to make it their school. They were trying to move their facility, it was Temple Israel, from West Bloomfield to Bloomfield Hills. They tried to buy the old Andover School, I believe, on Maple and Losser. That ended up getting sold to an individual who turned it into his house or something like that. And so they had toured with, their entire, list of donors and staff and et cetera. And again, it turned into, it's too much of an investment to make something like that. So,
Okay. There was, and I'm not sure, Lillian, you said how much does the developer make? Was that your question?
Yeah, so,
Is in
sure. So, I mean, we're kind of at the bottom after all of the expenses and the debt service is paid. And right now, it's a few $100,000 a year. That would be, basically divided by the investment of $4.2 million.
Okay. And then Shelley said she was confused about the attracting developers' interest versus leasing it out. So.
That wasn't me.
Okay. You had a question that had something about, you were confused about attracting developers.
No, I
Oh.
didn't have any confusion.
You said your ears perked up?
Well, yeah, I was just pointing out that
I understood the question.
Yeah,
You make a
it
valid
wasn't-
point. It's like, well, if this is so risky, but yet you're so confident,
Right.
you're kind of talking out of both sides of your
You
mouth.
were.
Well, I mean, in your opinion, again, I try to be open-minded, I can understand, but any real estate development that you do is risky, okay? It doesn't matter if it's this project or if it's a project in Birmingham. When you're taking capital and you're taking on debt and you have other stakeholders that you have to answer to, there's a risk. And part of why it's felt riskier to us is because we have been trying to bring on other partners. We've tried to sell this. We've gone to, whether it's BezTac or Ed Rose and Sons or, again, I could go on and on. We've said, hey, do you have any interest in either buying this or partnering with us or helping us? And so we are kind of feeling from our standpoint that we're on our own from a development, as a kind of a solo developer. But at the same time, it's very easy for somebody who's not spent the time and really, dove into the detail to look at it and go, way too risky, I'm not interested. The amount of time and energy that Jordan and my team and what we've spent with the Planning Commission and doing the market studies and understanding the vacancy has given us a lot of confidence that if we build this, it's gonna get leased. And so, yes, there's still a lot of risk, and it's a roller coaster when it comes to these types of developments. But that's where the both sides come from, is that it is a little bit of, yes, we're really confident, but oh my God, we're taking on this, tremendous risk, and we're putting on an extraordinary expenditure, and we're getting people like Lathrup Village and the state of Michigan to believe in us. And yeah, I mean, it feels like there's a lot of weight on your shoulders, especially when some of these multifamily developers, multi-generational, that have, millions or billions of dollars in
Just
deals.
to say that, remember I did come to you because I know one of the multi-generational and billion-dollar company, and went to their CEO, who is a friend of ours, and asked him about this. It was years ago, and he said absolutely not. And he's the one, just to give you validation of who I'm talking about. They're the ones that built the building on Woodward and 696.
Yep.
They're the ones that own all the Walton Woods. There you have properties all over the place.
Yeah, same, yeah.
First sight was the fact. It was like, it's not going to be right.
Right.
You need to just tear it down.
Right. But again, now talking on the other side, we feel very confident that if we are able to build, this is a very unique development. It happens to be kind of right in the center of, Southfield Road is the busiest artery between Woodward and Telegraph. There's 55,000 cars, 80,000 people going up and down. You can't miss it. And the fact that we have a school, as challenging it is, as far as where it's set on the property, the amenities and the things that we are trying to do with it, I think, we're all about standout real estate.
And I'm going to jump in there because I know that it's also getting late. There was one more question from Jerry Ann, right? And that was, while it's the attainable versus the affordable, and when you're raising the rents, and help me if I'm not speaking correctly what you're saying or what you said, you raise the rents, and when do you raise the rates and they outprice what somebody can afford?
If the building's not fully occupied, well, there's two sides to this.
Well,
right.
One is rents go up just because the market demands
Right.
it, and
Right.
then you no longer have the
So
affordability.
if we violate, if we go above the 120 AMI, then we're in violation of the pilot, and then we're at risk of either paying, what a normal amount would be, or we have to correct it, or we're in violation of the agreement and the pilot goes away. That's what the, city attorney and staff put into the agreement. But I will say that if the rents, we're hoping that the rents do go up and that the rents do appreciate, and that's why it's tied to a percentage and it's not a
Because
flat
that means
rate.
then the income is going up.
If the income goes up, then the rent, then the taxes, the pilot service payment goes up. The other question that I think the same person had, which I thought was a really good question, because I ask myself this as well, is what happens if you don't get MSHDA? What happens to the city? What happens to the project? And that's where it's like, it's kind of a chicken or the egg. A lot of these agencies want to know that you have something like this in place, so that it's all about what's called readiness to proceed, because it's a highly competitive landscape. There are a lot of different projects that are trying to claw their arms around plans like these, and we've been able to demonstrate through our HDC, through our site plan, through all of the construction and the civil drawings and all the things that we've done. They believe that we're at a very close point. That being said, the agreement provides that we have, I think it's 24 months from the date of the resolution to go and start construction. Otherwise, it expires. And so if we don't get this program, we still have a couple of years to figure out any other funding sources. And that could change. I mean, you see, what's going on in the political, a lot of it has to do with what happens in Lansing. And during that time that we're not starting construction, we continue to pay the ad valorem property taxes, which is roughly the, $25,000 a year or whatever it is that we pay.
And then there was, the last one that I got was, did you do a study on how it's going to affect our property values?
So we did, and I know that I think it was in our presentation back when we did site plan. So there was a study that came out that basically showed that neighborhoods that get investment from the state typically see a rise in property values. And there was a comment about, I think that if we showed, I know that we talked about how quickly the housing stock in Lathrup sells if it's put on the market, but the taxes do get uncapped, and I believe that that would provide more revenue, but.
I can address that. It doesn't, because what happens is, because of Headley, it raises the aggregate taxable value of the city, which causes us to lower our millage rate ever so slightly.
I
So while
see.
we get a big influx from that one resident, it gets totally eaten up by the fact that, everybody pays a few dollars more.
Right. But then what about the fact?
A few
so
dollars
then-
less.
Well, but if property values rise, again, I mean, the question is about property values rising. And I believe that whether,
Yeah.
houses are selling in Lathrup Village, causing the property
Yeah.
values to rise, it'd be the same thing when you have an investment like this.
Yeah, and I think the study that you're referring to is an MEDC study. I think it was, do you remember the percentage, Mike? Yeah, I know you
Yeah,
sent it to
I
us.
just
I know the city posted something.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So this is an MED study that they did over about 10 years from 2008 to 2019. So naturally, we all know MEDC invests a lot throughout the state for projects. So what it looks like for every dollar of MEDC investment, commercial values increased 3.2% and residential properties increased 2.9%.
And that's from the Michigan's.
Economic Development Corporation. So for their projects from that time period, that's what they saw. That's the data they had.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yep, so the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, from 2008 to 2019, they did a study based off their investments. For every dollar they invested in one of their project communities, commercial occupancy, increased 3.2%, and nearby residential occupancy increased 2.9%. And then for every dollar of MEDC investment equaled 3.8 private investment. So then I'd have to look through the other chart, but everything showed that properties increased as well.
It's not a go back and forth with the residents. It's not a going back and forth with the residents. It's not. So it's no going back and forth with the residents at this time. When we get to the public comment, you can speak. But that will be also, this will already be done. But what were you about? Someone over here is about to say something.
Jalen was just asking to be here.
Oh,
Mike
okay.
said, but of course, I have more questions as well.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
continue.
so can we get in with questions now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure that their questions.
Perfect.
answered.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, it's the last year as we've been moving into this pilot has been, a learning experience. We put, 10%, up to 10% in our ordinance, and initially when we first started talking about that, I naively thought, well, okay, the developer's going to come in at 4, we're going to come in at 10, maybe probably around 6 or something like that. But then as I researched it more and saw, most of them are around 4%. Obviously, there are some a little bit higher, but they tend to be around 4%. It became pretty apparent, just from reading more about it, that these pilot programs exist because the state recognizes that building attainable housing is really expensive, and to do that, there's no developer that's going to take on those kinds of developments without some type of help from the state or from local ordinances or local municipalities, which is why they allow a pilot program. That said, obviously, as a fiduciary for the city, I want that percentage to be as high as possible. I was happy to see that it was 4.5%. You did answer one of the questions that I asked a little bit earlier about, well, can't you just put in some of your own money? And then obviously it became clear that there's no incentive for you to do that, because that would lower your debt ratio or fix your debt ratio problem, but the return just isn't there to do that. But the other thing that from our last meeting that I didn't get a chance to push on is I just wanted to get a sense, obviously again, if there's any way to get that percentage up higher, I want to get a sense of in the cash flow. The numbers that you presented, so for example, the administrative number was 250,000. How are we to know, that that's a reasonable number? If that number came down 50,000, well, then the pilot could go up 50,000. So I just wanted, one, to get a sense of those numbers. I'm just gonna ask like 3 or 4 questions. I'll let you address them all. The second one was the second question is, if we can't get that number up, that percentage up, is there, and I recognize the fact that we can't change your debt ratio to make you still eligible for, MISHDA or other programs. So is there a way that we could look at some type of outside agreement for a modest community benefit every year? You provide $15,000 for parks, or $15,000 for the music festival, or what have you. And then the other question I wanted to ask as well, because it was a little ambiguous the way you said something about the 120,000. So one of the things that I thought was great about the way that this was negotiated was, and you brought this up, Jordan, was, you know, normally for the 2 years of development, we're going to continue to get the 22,000, 23,000. Of course, as I think people know, the city gets none of that. That all goes to the DVA. When you talked about the dog park and the walking path, are those improvements taken out of that 120,000, or are they in excess to the 120,000 that we would get those first 2 years? Those are the questions I have for now. And then I'm sure
I can
the
answer
rest-
that last one. That would be in addition to the 120.
Okay,
The
that's what I
120 is the minimum payment, so that's, replace the 4.5% for that period of time with the 120.
Right.
This was my chance to lump it all in there.
Well, finally, I know the answer to a question.
Are you taking notes on all these questions? You want to
Yeah.
keep throwing questions at her? Or
I mean,
answer
there's a
some,
motion
or-
on the floor right now, so this is where, before you make your
Well,
decision.
no, whether or not he wanted
It's
to
a
answer all
bachelor
of
answer.
Bruce's.
Yeah, we want to answer the questions.
Before.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I think unless I missed one, the 120 was answered. So the things that we're doing as part of the site plan, including the benefit to the park run, in addition to this minimum service payment that was recommended. The answer to your question is yes. I mean, if there's something else that we can do, you know, outside of this to try and, whether it's an event or some kind of a, you know, a community benefit that, you know, it's always something that we would be open to discussing. Again, happy to entertain any of that. Kind of what you threw out there seemed very reasonable. Because again, we want to do this in good faith with you guys. I mean, we thought that the community benefit of the, you know, of the 120 a year, you know, was kind of maybe something that could be part of that. But if there's, again, things outside of this that you guys are looking to do, you know, by all means, you can reach out to us at any time. And then as far as the expenses are concerned, I mean, you know, again, everything that we have done is based on a budget. So when it comes to the, you know, when we talk about 24-hour security, we have property managers, there's payroll, there's, you know, again, dealing with the tenants, there's the leasing office, all of those things kind of, you know, go into that number. And if you're having full-time staff, I mean, if you think about it, it adds up really quickly. Typically, you see a benchmark between like 30 and 40%, depending on the age of the development, of the ratio of what the expenses are to the income. So as long as you're within that, like, you know, 30+% range, that's typical of what you would see. The other thing is, you know, the other income that we've thrown in there, like the $150,000 or $155,000, that's a big reach. I mean, we've talked to, you know, the city about the idea of using that as event space or rental. That's a lot of rentals that we would have to throw in. So if that number goes down, you know, what happens? The replacement reserves that we're not showing in there. Right. So yeah, this is a budget. It's not, you know, we don't have it down to the actuals based on what's going on, but this was a good faith effort that is being vetted by you guys, by us, by the state, in order to do something that, you know, comes up with a cash flow that is reasonable. And so, you know, again, I didn't include the breakdown, but we have, security, like I said, payroll, et cetera, and it's listed out in the schedule, and again, more than happy to provide that.
We also agreed in the pilot to submit our financials yearly to the city for review.
And then one follow-up too. So with respect to the walking path is obvious, the community benefit of the dog park. What is your intention there? Are you going to rip that whole thing out and put, you know, because like one of the things we hear from residents that they don't use it is because it's like a concrete floor, which is obviously not great for dogs. I'm just curious what your plans are for the amenity and or the rebuilding of the dog park.
Yeah, I mean, typically, I think, you know, there's a lot of challenges. Like if you put turf there, you know, it can get really messy, et cetera. And so we've the landscaping vendor that we've used on a lot of different you know, developments, Great Oaks, has kind of come up with, you know, it's really probably just going to be grass and having, you know, waste stations and things like that that are going to be there. But ultimately, it's really gonna be a function of, you know, it might change. I mean, we're gonna have to play around with it and see if what works. We're trying to enforce, I mean, a lot of, you know, there's a lot of ways that apartment buildings enforce, you know, people picking up after their pets. But, you know, I'm not sure exactly what the actual surface is gonna be. But yeah, I mean, we're not planning on keeping what's there. We're gonna be ripping it out of there and replacing it for something new.
You are gonna let dogs into the apartments? You have to, but.
Well,
I was just reading an
we're
article
gonna
today about how, you know, apartments that allow dogs sell, or, you know, rent much faster.
They do, but you have to enforce it, because if you have dogs that are obviously, you know, leaving waste or aren't behaved, et cetera, then it actually negatively affects. So we're, again, part of that administrative salary are gonna be the people that are gonna be enforcing the building rules, especially with pets.
So, anyone else have any?
Yeah, just a quick one.
Yeah,
Are
I
you-
have a couple too still, but go
Okay.
ahead.
So working with Mr., are you able to look for other funding sources as well?
Yeah, so, right now, we've kept an open line of communication with Oakland County Trust Fund. They have, Kyle Hines, is kind of the, you know, head administrator over there and has been, you know, lobbying, the state for, additional funds. They, typically invest, in the form of a loan, you know, between $1 and $3 million into a project like this. We check off the boxes. The funding is not there right now, so we've kept an open line. So, for example, if for any reason we don't end up going with MISTA because we either run out of time or there's an issue as we, you know, get into serious negotiation, that's another person that we would be going after in this 24-month period that we have from the date of the resolution. And then the MEDC, we've made it through their underwriting committee, and so both MISTA and MEDC work closely with one another, so they know that we're talking to one another. So it's kind of been like, all right, well, go to, you know, MEDC always wants to be the last one to kind of, you know, put in the investment, and so it's been, hey, go through MISTA, and if that, you know, if it doesn't pan out, you know, come back to us.
Really quickly, I just would like for you to maybe go further into the details of why other developers have like passed down or turned down the property.
Yeah, so one of the key metrics in any deal is the yield on cost. So all that means is basically we've projected a total cost, you know, hard, soft, you know, the whole thing of roughly $42 million. And based on an NOI of 2.5, that 5 to 6% range is basically what developers are saying is non-investable, because in order to be investable, regardless of the financing that you get, regardless of the capital stack of how all the sources of the funds, typically you like to see something that's at least a 7 to a 12, depending on the riskiness or what is considered the risk of the investment. And so when you're dropping below 7, people look at that and it's tough, because the metric that from a high level you know, from a napkin sketch, makes it difficult for people to feel comfortable.
Yeah, even just like a rough estimate on that, like if you're at a 10% return, you can make your money back in 10 years. But if you're at a 5% return, it takes 20 years. So it doesn't sound like a huge difference between 5 and 10, but it's a full decade worth to make it back. And these types of projects are usually 10 plus. This one's at about 5. So it kind of showcases for developers, is it really worth it to put the risk into this versus something where they can charge market rate. And one other thing I want to address for AMI. So AMI is set by the state of Michigan, so we're not able to affect that. We'll have certain units that are going to be 90, 100, 110, 120, but every year the state of Michigan is going to put out an area media income where you're going to be charging those rates. If those rates go up, of course, it's a reflection of how much money is being made in the community. So the idea that we're going to drop below a certain amount, all of a sudden this becomes a low-income housing, it's impossible because it's set by the state of Michigan. And then further, as that goes up, which is done every single year since 2008, the city of Lathrup Village will make more money because we'll be able to charge more rent, and therefore that pilot number will go up. Plus, it's going to go up by 5% of the cost of inflation.
Okay,
so,
but our expenses are also going up,
of course,
et cetera. So that's why I don't want to get lost in the.
The city's expenses will also be going up, by the way.
Yeah, but even expenses like, you know, we think about like reserves or things like that. Like we had the other day, I was telling Mr. Hammond, a drunk driver hit our sign at Sunset West, and it's gonna cost us about $15,000 to fix our property and our sign, and that's just, we can't file an insurance claim on it, it doesn't make any sense, and it's money we gotta go out of pocket. So there's gonna be things that happen along the way that aren't in the model that we can't project alongside those expenses.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple quick questions. One is, what's your time frame in terms of when do you need a decision from us? I know it's on the agenda tonight, we've already made a motion, but, you know, there's some things that I still want some information about. Is tonight a drop dead date for you?
I mean, I would say, yesterday is our drop dead date, just because of how competitive, these programs are. It's paramount, but obviously there's only so much we can do to control, but I would say now more than ever, with the momentum that we have, with the engagement that we've had, from MISTA, I mean, they're actively looking at us, and I just worry that, we lose another month or two, we're at risk, but
Yeah.
we also want to balance that with what.
So one of the things I'm hearing and that
Can you put your microphone on?
Oh. One of the things that I'm concerned about, that I hear concern about, is we're not really sure what the impact is gonna be on the community. Now, I understand that we want something there, right? Of course we do. Anything that's gonna be there is going to increase traffic, maybe increase, any.
Public safety calls.
Any, concerns with public safety, yes. So anything that's gonna go there is gonna raise those concerns. I mean, unless we leave it vacant for another 30 years. So
You wanna take that
have
one?
we,
Sure.
Yeah.
what
So
did
we addressed a lot of this in the site plan, which I believe may have been prior to you joining city council, so potentially why I could bring those things back up. So first, we worked in depth with Lathrup Village Police and Fire. They have no concerns about this development. We sat down with the police chief and Lieutenant Zhang and went through every element of this presentation, the expected runs that they expect. There was a couple of things that they asked us, such as access to the video cameras and license plate readers, which added to the cost of the project, but we agreed to do it, of course, to work with them. We have written letters and emails from them showcasing their support on that. In terms of traffic, I understand traffic, absolutely. That would be a concern of mine as well. We engaged Stonefield Engineering. It's one of the leading traffic engineer firms in the country. We flew them here. They did a full analysis. We analyzed how this school would do in comparison to other things that this is zoned for, such as, number one, a school or a medical office or a market. And what we found that this development was 1/6 the traffic increase of any other zoning development that this could be. I'm happy to forward that traffic study. Of course, right now it's going to be 0 because there's nobody coming in and out, so traffic will go up, yes. But what we found was that there was no significant increase or wear and tear on the roads expected based on this engineer's study. They did recommend doing a no left-hand turn out of one of the exits. We worked with police chief and they said that that was okay and that they would work with us. They said there could be some additional ticket revenue that comes from that as well. And in terms of the timing, we are on MISTA's loan committee board for the first week in October.
Real quick, we should talk about infrastructure too.
Oh, yeah.
The city engineer, et cetera.
City engineer, this is in the presentation, we took it out because it was so long to begin with. But we did a full infrastructure, our engineering team is back there in the corner. We're happy to have them come up and talk to the infrastructure. We analyzed waste and water and environmental and ground retention and a bunch of things I don't even understand, but all the engineering came back, both from the city engineers, Giffords-Webster, and our outside engineers, as okay to move forward, and we submitted that as part of our site plan. And then on MISTA, is that good in engineering?
No, that's good.
Okay. And then MISTA, so we are on their loan committee for the first week in October. It is a grind to get onto that ballot, and like Sam said, we're one of 2. So we need the pilot in order for them to approve it. If the pilot is granted, as part of the pilot resolution, we're on the shot clock. We have 2 years to start construction, not even just 2 years to get the financing. So there's a chance if MISTA falls apart, even if we get the pilot, this thing doesn't get off the ground. But we do run the risk of, not getting on that committee, something else happening, the money going to somewhere else, and then it gets punted, and then who knows, November, December holidays, it could be well into 2026 before we can get the opportunity to get in front of them again.
Yeah, I'd like to just say, we can't give anybody a guarantee that we're going to go through this program. I personally believe that we have a shot at it, and I look at it as right now we kind of have a bird in the hand. We don't want to use that as a statement to rush you into making a decision that you're not comfortable, but if this does get passed tonight, we have a mountain of work in order to be able to go after this with this opportunity. And so my ask is that, it is approved so that we can let our teams start to go down the road of actually making this, a reality and into fruition, because if it gets derailed or if it gets tabled, this is, there's just a risk, and I'd hate to, we didn't come this far just to get this far, so.
Yeah, I appreciate your concerns, and I appreciate you addressing some of the concerns I heard regarding the infrastructure and law enforcement, and I appreciate that the engineers and, our own police have been actively involved in talking about and what's going to happen, so, no, appreciate that.
Maria, two things just to add to that. One is, one thing that stood out to me in the presentation was, we're over 600 people lighter than we were at our max. So the infrastructure supported us with 600 more people, and there'll be less than 600 more people here.
But those 600 people were dispersed around.
I was just going to say that. But those people were dispersed throughout the city. The other thing that wasn't mentioned, if you read the engineer's report, it showed that we more than can handle the centralized increase of residents. But the other thing that wasn't mentioned was we have a $3 million grant, or $3 million in grants right now to replace the water main along Southfield Road, which goes right by the building. So that's going to even further improve the infrastructure, for that project if it goes through.
Anything else?
You made the statement that there's no local funding in this project. There's, like in your spread, there was a graph that shows the money you're putting in, the money you're financing, and the city doesn't actually have to pony up cash. But by approving a pilot and going essentially tax non-taxable route.
You're making an investment.
Yeah, the city is making an investment, and depending on where that percentage falls in, the investment shifts based on 4.5. Or actually, the spreadsheet that we have in the packet shows just the even numbers, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So just using those, not the actual 4.5 we agreed to, it works out to about just under $300,000 a year at 4%.
Right.
That the city is essentially giving away, or not giving away. That's the investment. That's the investment from the city. It's not cash. It's deferred or non-received tax revenue.
Yeah, and I think that, again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but we have done as of recent developments, mostly in Birmingham, and because we've restored historic buildings that are functionally obsolete. There's a development that just finished a couple of months ago. I think it's called Birmingham Point, and it wasn't a historic renovation, but there's no pilot. But my point is the cost to do new construction in Birmingham is the same as what it would cost to do new construction in Lathrup.
That's why it makes sense in that project.
Well, but there is no pilot. But when you're charging $17,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment, those are the rents that these guys are. It boggles my mind. And that's where that's where we have the constraint. And I think that what we tried to demonstrate is that it so happens in our particular case that the 4.5 is what we're going for, but out of the 19 other pilots that Jordan showed, a lot of them are around that range because we're restricted in the rents that we can charge, which is based on that 120 AMI, which is why it's attainable.
I have an issue though with that, characterizing this as just another one of the 19 projects, because each one of these projects, including this one, has something unique about it.
Of course.
Right? So to just say 13 of these projects were 4% or less, the circumstances around that could have been quite different.
Well, again.
Even the one that was at 10%, totally different.
Right.
situation.
I think that the other part of it that makes it a lot more complicated is the restoration of a historic building. And that amount
Right,
of
that's
cost
the
is
unique thing about this one, right? Yeah,
Absolutely. So,
So does anyone have any other questions for them?
Can I make one more comment for a question?
Real quick.
Okay, sorry, because I know we're going late.
you got it.
One other thing I just want to mention in terms of like AMIs and who we think is going to live there. Some of the developers that we've brought this to most recently have said that the target market for this is going to be actually seniors in the community who want to stay in Lathrup Village, who don't want to stay in their house, but want to stay in the city, but don't have anywhere to go that's affordable. And I thought, honestly, I swear, I thought that was silly and didn't make any sense. But after the site plan that we did, I had so many people in that demographic come up to me and ask me, can they send in a deposit? When does leasing start? And showcase me that they're interested because they want to sell their house and they want to make money on it. And have this as an opportunity to go to. So I just want to say, when we think about who's going to go, because I also thought a certain idea maybe about young people or something like that, I think the people who are going to end up leasing this, it's going to be actually a lot of their own Lathrup Village community in the end.
Thank you. Anyone else have a?
Before we vote, I just want to summarize, because we've been all over, and I just want to make sure that it's clear. And please correct me if I'm wrong. So, annual rent 4.5%, which yields $152,000 a year relative to the $22,000 a year that we're getting. So 7 times more than we're currently getting. Project doesn't go through, we as a city continue to get zero. Again, all the money, current money goes to the DDA. Minimum of $120,000, escalating 5% per year, beginning after December 31st of the year that construction starts. So we're basically going to get more than likely $220,000 payments that we wouldn't normally get. 15 years with 3 5-year extensions, or as required by other government entities. Park improvements, the track replacement. What hasn't been mentioned is $500,000 in permit revenue associated with the project. Now granted, we as a city don't keep all that because our contract with our outsourced building contractor, they take a large chunk of that, but it'll be at least $125,000 of additional revenue to the city, and then a commitment to work with us on an annual community benefit. Okay.
Is there anything else that anyone that's burning question?
I have one last question. So I know you guys, in your initial proposal, the city suggested a pilot rate at like 3% or something like that, and the city came back with 4.5, or you worked your way in a negotiation to 4.5. So there's obviously room. You figured out some way in order to make the debt ratio work so that a pilot at 4.5% would work, even if you thought initially maybe only 3% would be workable. What levers could you pull to try and make the debt ratio, the debt service ratio work, but maximize the pilot percentage?
If there was free grants that were available, if we got a few $1 million in grants, that would basically lower the cost, which would lower the debt service payment. If we were able to get more units on the site, so taking away the 4 or 5, however many units, again, we did it as a measure of good faith to try and work with HDC, and I actually think it makes the project look better as well, so that was great. But the reality is that it's like I've said, it's a mountain of work to even justify a 4.5% pilot. I mean, based on the numbers that we've showed you with not showing the replacement reserves and being a little aggressive, showing 100% occupancy rate, it's going to be tight to make the 4.5% work. But as Mr. Sherman said, we're trying to be reasonable because we can't come to the city. We know that we're not going to be able to get a 1 or a 2% pilot. So frankly, the answer is a 4.5% was proposed. We said we're going to accept it and we're going to go and we're going to figure it out. And that's the best answer that I can give to you.
Thanks. Kevin. That's my last question.
There are no more questions. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. Do you want to repeat the motion?
Sure. Made a motion to request to approve Resolution 2025-18, a resolution to approve tax exemption and a payment in lieu of taxes, also known as a pilot, for a workforce housing project to be located at 27700 Southfield Road.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson.
I knew you'd start with that. I am saying yes.
Councilmember Jennings.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
It doesn't matter.
Still got to go on
I
record.
know, yes. The motion has been approved. Next, we request to approve personnel manual. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You are off the.
Thank you.
Request to approve personnel manual of employment regulation updates.
Thank you, Mayor. So we had a chance to talk about this during our study session, but every so often the city should review and update our personnel manual. This year I thought it was best interest to do it, especially after we just approved some union negotiation or updated union contracts. So this update includes a lot of the mirrored language that we did in those contracts. Some of the big highlights are we're updating PTO accrual rollover language that will limit employee payout in future budgets. We're updating the sick leave use clause to meet Earned Sick Time Act regulations. We're adding parental leave that has never been with the city before until we add it to union contracts as well. And then we're just updating some insurance language that actually mirrors our current insurance policies.
Thank you. Who would like to make the
I'll
motion?
make a motion to approve the Lathrup Village Personnel Manual of Employment Regulations updates as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have the request to appoint planning commissioner.
Yeah, and just one quick edit. I know in the memo it said we had one vacancy. We actually do have two. So we had Chair Les resign, and then Mark Disick's term was ending, and he decided not to reapply.
Great. So we need two.
We need two. Yep, and we had 4 applications received, 3 as of last week, and then we extended the deadline until today, and we received 1 more.
Okay.
When did you find this out? Did we know this?
We knew it before. I was confused off of it too because I thought it was 2 before we got the packet. So.
Oh.
Yep.
It came in today at 12:24.
No. They're saying that they had 2.
The planning commission realized that we had a vacancy last week, a second vacancy last week.
Yeah, but I always thought there was 2. When we saw just 1, I always thought it was 2. But anyway, because basically who we got, everybody would have had a position, basically. I remember that. But, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it came up before the last study session last week.
Yeah, it did. We
The
talked
second
about the 2.
vacancy?
We were talking, I'm not gonna go back and forth. I thought we had talked about it last week.
Okay.
Or, I don't know what day it is at this point.
Yeah.
Motion was on the floor? Oh,
No.
it's on
You
me.
may
You need to make a recommendation.
So, I recommend Sharon L. Abrams. That's the first person that I recommended. When we were talking about it before, the second one would be Jerry Ann Clark.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jerry Ann Clark to the Planning Commission.
Second.
It's been moved to second. Oh, we had to do them one at a time. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it back together. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
We don't need a majority.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes. It doesn't, we don't need a majority for this particular vote.
Supermajority.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she's here now. She wasn't using the microphone before anyway, so.
You need to vote.
Councilmember
Jerry Ann
Manarino
Clark as the
Thompson.
Planning Commissioner.
It's still not.
My turn? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to appoint, I'm blanking on her first name all of a sudden. I was going to say Sharon, but that seemed wrong. Sharon Abraham to the Planning Commission.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson.
Yes.
So the new people will be Jerry Ann Clark and Sharon Abrams. Abraham. I wrote it down completely wrong then. Congratulations. I don't know if
Yeah, your next meeting is tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You think I'm kidding? I'm serious.
We'll talk about it after
Yeah.
this gets over at some point tonight, maybe tomorrow.
If we ever get out of this meeting.
And thanks to all the applicants. It was, as usual, a tough decision. Like, we have amazing people who are applying for the openings on our commission. So.
Yeah, and can I also request that the applicants who weren't appointed receive emails to make sure that they know that they weren't appointed and they'll be considered for future positions?
Anything else? Okay. Next one is item request D. And this is about DTE.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we got this yesterday. So as council knows, we received a grant to add a emergency access gate on San Jose Boulevard. The longest part of this process is getting DTE to the site and getting us the necessary power. City engineer Ringler and I met with DTE project manager before I went on vacation. They finally got us the estimated cost for the project plan. So it looks like we had to run a new line, a new pole placed right there. But part of this project, we're looking to get approval for the DTE line extension agreement, secondary service agreement, and this will cost us $5,371. It will be partially covered by the grant. Then hopefully within our next meeting, whether it's via the potential joint session, when we're going over master plan, maybe we'll do this first, we'll bring more items to you to get this project moving. But this is the first step for it.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion.
Motion to approve the DTE line extension agreement and secondary service agreement and authorize payment of $5,371.96.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
How does this relate? How does this relate to what we budgeted for the electrical?
The total project cost, we're estimating about 60 grand.
Right.
So this fits right in with the updated cost estimates we have for actual fencing, pavement, and we still got to get the actual electrician cost because someone has to hook up the gate to this. We're looking probably at 35 to 40 grand, so we're looking pretty good overall.
That was the same question I had.
Yeah, and then the one thing I learned today, based on a different question that I had for Mike, was that we can move the current gate that we have over to Coral Gables, which we opened up for the construction, so that'll give Southfield, the Southfield Fire Department
yep.
another way to get through, which is great, improved safety.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, only just the one line that's always in here. DTE requires payment before proceeding.
Oh, of course.
What?
It's DT.
You know?
Love them.
Yeah, stand in line.
Any other
Do we have
questions?
any ability to negotiate that after we're happy with the work they do?
Oh.
Any other questions? Discussion regarding this? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Mannarino Thompson.
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes. Didn't I
Very
get that twice?
I said Mayor Garrett, did I? No, Mayor Garrett, sorry.
Yes,
I thought I was losing my mind there for a second.
you
Yes,
did,
yes.
but nonetheless.
I really support this, yes, yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, next will be the city administrator report.
Nothing today, Mayor.
Whew. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? City attorney report.
Nothing for me yet.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm trying to find this
Finance
note.
review.
Finance review.
Yeah, so we've done 8 in-home town halls so far to educate residents on the upcoming Headley initiative that will be on the ballot. We've got 4 more scheduled, and then in addition to that, we also have 4 town halls remaining at City Hall. One of them is tomorrow. I strongly urge residents, if you haven't already, to attend one of these town halls. The goal of these town halls is not to convince you to vote one way or the other, but just to give you the information so that you know what you're voting on and what the effects of it going into effect or not going into effect are. So 7 o'clock tomorrow in the community room downstairs. Tell all your friends.
That's it?
For that,
Okay,
yep.
great. The DDA,
They meet Friday. Nothing.
nothing then, right? Planning commission.
The Planning Commission is meeting tomorrow night. We have a very short agenda, so hopefully a very brief meeting where we will be electing new officers. And we will be reviewing proposed ordinance for solar energy systems and solar energy battery storage systems.
Thank you. Parks and Rec.
Yeah, make it brief because we need Tim downstairs tomorrow.
We'll do our best.
Real quickly, Parks and Rec, upcoming events. On September 19th, Friday, we have our next Food Truck Friday. On September 21st, we have the Fall Gardening Harvest class. On September 26th, we have Trivia Night, and we've added a food truck to that, so not only will it be trivia, but it will be food available. October 12th, we have our I think it's our second annual road rally. And on October 26th, we have our Ghostly Glow Dance. I don't know if you went last year, but it was awesome. Kids had a great time, so start thinking about that and start getting your costumes ready.
Thank you. The Tree Committee, the Women's Club's interested in donating 2 trees to Sirachwood Park. LV Nature Group planning to donate $750 for trees in LV Parks, estimating 10 trees, 5 this fall and 5 next spring. 2026 DTE grant to be submitted this month, targeting $8,000, $4,000 one-to-one match. Working to have tree tip of the month in the newsletter, topics such as deer protection, pruning, mulching, staking trees, pests, etc. And last, working to update LV tree ordinance, as last update was in 1991 and is outdated. Southfield Public Schools.
I would say only thing is Stevenson Elementary, they're almost done with all of their updates for their school, so those are your bond dollars working, and that's all I have to report.
And the ribbon cutting's tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, you guys all got it, okay. All right, yeah, the ribbon cutting's tomorrow. I will not be in attendance.
At Stevenson, yeah.
At 5 o'clock. And then any unfinished new business?
I've got two quick things, and not to talk about tonight, but I'd like to put on future agendas. I've done a lot of walking in the northeast quadrant this last week, and pretty much every resident that I have talked to has brought up the deer issue. I know we've talked about it several years ago. It's probably worth at least a discussion. I don't know that there's a lot we can do with it. I mean, last time I think we ended up resulting in, we just have to find a way to live harmoniously with them, but I think we should
I can do a quick little comment on that. City of Southfield is planning to do a deer call within the next couple of years, and naturally, since they do surround the city, that should alleviate some of the issue.
A little bit.
But
yeah. So, and then the second issue, probably really bad timing on this since we just approved the sign ordinance, but probably think it's worth taking another look at a way to give some of the business community a little bit of relief to the sign ordinance. I've had several businesses talk to me, one at length during the music festival, about the struggle that they have to get people to notice their businesses, especially the businesses that are really far off the road in the strip plazas, as opposed to some that are more close to the road. They know that they can have 2 weeks, 3 times a year where they can go into the right of way with the sign. It might be worth considering a little bit more relief. So I wanted to bring that up as a discussion.
On the next,
On
another one.
not
Okay, figure
tonight.
that out
Not
and
tonight.
send it to Mike.
It's
and
10
let
to
him
10.
know. Yep, that's what I'm trying to get you to.
And that's all I have for new business.
Thank you. Now, public comment, you're limited to 3 minutes.
Shelley Reeves. All I can say right now is wow. 100% yes. The optics of passing this while simultaneously asking residents to pass a Headley is crazy. I remember my first meeting when a vote was taken and I was told, I had questions like, why was everybody so fast to vote yes? And I was told, oh, you got to come to the study sessions. Well, I couldn't attend that study session today, and I was happy to see a Facebook Live started. But we all know what happened to that. I am so disappointed in the ugly tactics to prevent a record of these sessions. It's very personal and very bullyish. What I witnessed today was some over-the-top dramatics that I would expect from a bunch of adolescents, not city officials. And I actually got secondhand embarrassment for you guys, the way you handled that. In the spirit of transparency, sessions should be recorded, and it's the theatrics that you're willing to orchestrate just to prevent that reads as real suspicious. So residents, fellow residents, if you're not paying attention, I urge you to start, because this current council is not working for our benefit. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Next.
I don't agree with that, but, I think I appreciate the study sessions, and I did attend one before. Oh, you should talk louder.
Could you say your name?
I'm
for
sorry,
me?
Lillian Kaiser Lowry, on Roseland. It's just the only question I have, point of clarification that I had. I was asking what the developer's upfront fee is, what they're getting, and I agree with Bruce Cantor. Get as much as you can, but get it in writing. Again, that event space, we want to make sure that we have access to that. You know, the dog park, everything they said, get it in writing. And the thing for people to remember, when you do a construction project, there's bonding insurance that you get. So if the project doesn't go the way it's supposed to have insurance. So just make sure that we get those things. But I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. It doesn't always go the way that we want, but I don't think, saying that you guys are characterizations, I don't think that's appropriate. But I appreciate you for myself as a resident, all of you in the work that you're doing. It's hard, it's tough. You can't please everybody, but you did give us a chance to say something, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I just do this every month. But first of all, thank you. Somebody else has heard of Hole in the Brown Box.
Can I have the one with the Detroit Lions?
No, but would you like to know what's
This
on
is a part of
Sour
your
Gardner
3
Lane?
minutes, just to let you know.
Sorry.
So I did a little math this time. So this is the SAVE circular that is not distributed through U.S. Postal Mail. That every week is dumped all throughout our community, violating federal law by attaching these to mailboxes and violating several local ordinances. This is from last week. This is from 2 blocks of California Drive, 18 houses, 8 of them out of 18 wound up in ditches, on sidewalks, on lawns. And these are only the ones that I picked up. Maybe somebody got out there before I did. I know the city attorney has sent a letter. Maybe we get a response someday.
Thank you for sharing. Oh, go ahead.
And by the way, I don't want to do this, but in a much larger city, even larger than Detroit, I've been pretty effective at getting press on little issues like this.
Thank you. I met one of the founders of Dilly Dally in the alley today. I had lunch with him.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Barris, and I just wanted to thank everybody about the LVMF. It was really successful. Everybody up here was there to have all the city officials involved and to have so many residents show up, to have 45 volunteers. I came to the DDA in 2023 with 2 friends and said, we want to start a music festival. Residents, we want to start a music festival. We went to the DDA and we said, we have $1,000 seed money, and can you help us? And the DDA said, this is something we want to take on. And we said, we'll focus on local businesses. We focus on residents. And that $1,000 came from a challenge to me personally, if I could start something that would bring the community together, I would be gifted this $1,000 to do it, which we turned around and used as seed money. The first year we did that in 10 weeks. The second year and the third year we did it in 10 months. Saturday, we had, as Lieutenant Zhang has told us now, approximately 1,500 people that showed up for this event to draw the community together. And it was a real great vibe. It was a real brotherhood vibe. The police and the residents and local communities all together. It was we really accomplished our goal. I wanted to personally thank all of you for being part of it, and Elisa especially for being part of our team, and Austin and Tom for being part of our team, and how much that's meant to us, and your skills, lady. You have skills, man. That was so great. You've been hiding them. But it was really something, and my heart is so full, and I just want to thank you so much for allowing us to do something like this for the city.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to?
Karen Harris, Lauren beat me to it, but it was outstanding. Lauren and Bob, because I know Bob was,
Yes.
you were the
All
headliner,
day.
but Bob was right behind you, in front of you, beside you the whole time. And Austin ran from the time we started. Are you still running at night, like in the dark?
Still a little dehydrated.
I'm sure you are. And every one of these guys were here. Also, Jordan from Cernal Company was there with his kids. I don't know, it's just so much fun. We had the bartender extraordinaire. That's you, Mr.
Yes, you go.
Dandy. Anyway, thank you, and thank all you guys for being there. Oh
Thank
my
you.
God.
So needed. It was so needed.
Thank you.
Good evening again. I know everyone wants to leave, so I'll be brief, but I also wanted to stand up and express my admiration and frankly awe for the proceedings of this weekend at the Lathrup Village Music Festival. I really do think that the answer to so many of our problems are showing up to be in community together, and 1,500 out of a community of 4,000 isn't a bad turnout. So I appreciate Lauren Barris and all of the volunteers who worked very hard to put this on. I think it's the only way we move forward as a community. We have other opportunities to do that in smaller capacity. Representative from our Parks and Rec Committee spoke pretty passionately and directly earlier today about the state of Parks and Rec in Lathrup Village. And despite a shoestring budget, the women who lead this for us are really, really good at putting on really, really fun and good events. So please be mindful of the Parks and Rec postings on social media. I'm sure their events are also very widely broadcast in the city newsletter. I can vouch for the trivia night, for example. Very fun. You'll meet a lot of people, and of course we have many differing opinions on many different things, but when you can sit around and have fun and laugh and perhaps even be a little bit competitive with your neighbors, you know, whether or not developer A got more parking spots than you think he or she should have really starts to matter a lot less. So thank you to Parks and Rec, and thank you to Lauren and every volunteer at the music festival again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard?
Well, I will not do my questions, it's awfully late, but because Sam Cerno is pretty good at somewhat misleading people, I just want to put on the record a few of the things that he said. He talked about Akiva, that school that was in there before the Christian one, that yes, that's where all the damage came from. The school was in great shape when it was lost by the people as a school. And those documents that I got from the county, I went out to the clerk's office. They sent me to the annex on Elizabeth Lake Road. And I meant to have them here tonight, but I left them on the table when a phone call came. So it says very clearly, Cerno is Akiva. Now, if the council's wrong on that, the county is wrong on that, I stand corrected. But I'm quoting from Oakland County documents to let you know. He also talks about being here a long time. Not the one today, but the previous study session, I asked Sam Cerno, well, if you've been here in the 70s and the 80s, where are the buildings that you built? What are they? He absolutely refuses to answer that question. He just gets really snarky and walks away. So it's interesting that if he's been here that long time and he's such a part of the community and he built all these buildings, why doesn't he tell us? And the other thing I want to talk about, just to set the record straight, when they say that there were no other alternatives, after Jeff Cerno destroyed the old city hall, a group of people who were long-term Lathrup residents in 1992 got together to form the Historical Society. And one of the major reasons for that was to get the school back into public ownership, turn it into some sort of mixed-use development, partly for the city and partly commercial. And in those days, it wasn't all run down yet. But Jeff Cerno refused to have anything to do whatsoever with those people. And meanwhile, the people who founded the Historical Society tragically got old and they died, or they had to leave their homes and they left Lathrup, and they weren't around. And since the hostile takeover of the Historical Society, it's been a very anti-preservation group. And I want to alert you, not that it makes that big a difference to the council, but this group that does have Lathrup Village in its title and did have a person on the Historic District Commission, that group not only won't let people like me who are preservationists in an organization that had as its founding document, you could live in Juneau, Alaska, you could live in Sao Paulo and be a member if you cared about Lathrup. Now you can't do that. So the first check I've showed you where they blackballed me, so I put in another one this year and they will not give me my check back. And I raised it just because you all know your check has got all your details of your banking account. And I don't know if it's Robin Roberts or who, but somebody has got my check and they're refusing to return that, and they're refusing to return private property. So I think the Historical Society is an organization that really needs to be looked at.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to be heard? Okay. Mayor and council comments. First one is.
No, we got one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Debbie.
Oh, I didn't see her. Sorry. No, that's fine. Yep. I didn't see
I
you
just
say
wanted
that.
to, Debbie Holtland, Dunn, Lathrop Boulevard.
Holtland?
Hoatlin hyphen DUNN.
Hyphen D.
UNN.
Thank you.
Sure. I just wanted to piggyback on the music festival. It was absolutely fantastic and such a wonderful way for all of us to get together and be one big part of Lathrop. And I also wanted to thank the Planning Commission and City Council and Cerno. I've been to quite a few of the Cerno presentations now, and I've seen the changes that they've made from the suggestions that we have made and that Planning Commission and City Council has made. So I think has been a long, hard time, but I think that there's been a lot of work to do what you think is best for Lathrop Village. And having a dilapidated building just is not a great site for Southfield Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else that wanted to be heard?
Hi, Carlisa Mathis, Margate Avenue. And I just want to thank the council for approving today for the pilot program. Because I've followed the information of what's been going on. And I believe that the vision and everything they presented this evening is going to be really great for Lathrop Village. So just want to thank you for that and had a great time. I couldn't stay long for the festival, but I had a great time. Can't wait to next year.
Thank you. Anyone else? So mayor and council comments. First one is that we have movement on the house that's on Lacrosse Avenue. So it's going to be actually torn completely down, just to let you know that. Also, there's going to be shredding on Saturday. That is going to be in, I was going to ask you a question, but I'm the one that put it together. So I think it starts.
It is late.
It started at 9 o'clock. I think it'll be outside. And it's for electronics too. So please, if you have anything to bring here Saturday. I'm not going to be long, but there was some things that I was thinking about. That number one, understand what the process is, okay? And what I mean by that is when it came to that particular vote, it had to be 4 out of 5. So at that point, as what I was saying in jest, is that it didn't matter what I said at that point if everybody already said yes. So that's why you got the 100%, because you had to have the 4 out of 5. Just want to explain that, number one. Nothing else is, going on. The apartments versus Headley, I wish Shelley would have stayed because I too have pause with that. So you don't know what's going on in my brain because I think that is kind of weird. You're asking for us to do something, but then you're asking for us to, the apartment Headley thing, whatever. But the cool thing about Headley, you can vote for it. And whatever happens is we'll have to just deal with that. Regarding the recordings, 2 things about that. Okay, let's get the recordings back. There's $6,500 additional every single month.
No, year.
Year. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I was really going to get upset about this. Okay, so $6,500. It's okay. Just do it. It's not a big deal. There was a reason behind it, and it's probably going to sound. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was. We seem to get more conversation and more people to talk and to explain things. It's weird, but it turned into where when we had the cameras, it was more of a grandstanding kind of situation, and we were like, maybe we'll get more conversation among everyone if we didn't have the cameras on. You feel safe in that situation. Okay, so sometimes we can get it wrong, so bring back the cameras. It's really that simple. You don't have to diminish people. You don't have to talk about people. Just bring back the cameras. What happened earlier is follow the rules. Simply follow the ordinance. Did we handle the complete correct way? Maybe we didn't. But the fact is that we handled the best way we can. And so to be called a bully, I find that the irony in me or us being called bullies, I find that ironic. So I think I have all my things I think I need to say.
I got a few.
I knew that.
You knew that.
It's
you
only
knew
10
that, and
o'clock.
a few more after the public comments. So I agree. I'm agreeable to bring back the recordings, but there's 2 things. One, in my opinion, anyways, they need to stay in that room because when we had study sessions in here, when you're not face to face, you don't have the discussion, and it also leads to grandstanding, which we saw for a couple of years. We also need to figure out where that $6,000 comes from, right? Because if we spend $6,000, and we all know we have a Headley on the ballot because we're having trouble financially, so now we're going to take $6,000 away. We got to figure out where we take that away from. So assuming we can find a place to do that, I'm all for it. In terms of, I'm sorry, Shelley is upset, but you brought up the comment that she made of us bullying. No such bullying. We regularly receive comments from residents. I go door to door, as I think a lot of you know. I get hit constantly with, I don't want to come to the meetings, and it's all because of a couple people and the way that they deal with their camera. So as a result of that, we put an ordinance in place, how long ago, 4 months ago?
Yeah,
5
within the
months
last
ago?
Is it technically an amendment to the rules
Oh,
of
no,
procedure?
I'm
but-
sorry, yeah, we put a council rules and procedures in place to handle that situation. And there's been one person who has violated those rules every single time, and we've given that person slack. And at our last meeting, our second to last meeting, they came in, they were recording when they came in, which is a violation of the rules. They weren't set up ahead of time, which is also in the rule. And so we said the next time this happens, we're going to say something. And we said something, and then they made a big deal out of it. So the ordinance is in place for a reason, because people want to come to this meeting. We had one person who was planning on staying today who left because they didn't want to deal with that kind of conflict. So that's why the ordinance is there. It's not to bully any one individual. It's to make this a positive environment where people can feel safe to come, and that's why the ordinance is in place. The other thing I also want to talk about, you just brought up, and Shelley also brought up about, and this is something we talk about in the town hall, the finance town halls. If you look on the surface, it does seem like, God, it doesn't make sense that we're offering, or we're asking for a Headley override, and at the same time we're providing this tax break. But if you scratch below the surface, what you realize is that both of those are tools that we use to raise revenue. If you look at the Headley, right now we get, not the Headley, the pilot, right now we're getting about $23,000 in revenue. When I say we, it's the DDA. City gets nothing. If we build a project, so let's say we didn't do a pilot and I'm being careful.
23,000 is
Total
the
tax.
total.
Total, right.
Ad valorem taxes. So
Yep.
the city collects half of that.
Right.
Half of it goes to other taxing jurisdictions. Of that half collected, 100% of
11,000,
that
12,000
goes
goes
to
to the DDA. Right, the city gets nothing. I was gonna get to that, but yeah, thank you. If this project were to be built, if Sam built this project and said, hey, I don't need a pilot, I'm gonna build it, I'll do ad valorem taxes, we would get about the payment that he would make per year in taxes would be about $670,000 roughly based upon the estimated value of the project. All of that money would go to the DDA, not the city. So putting the pilot in place is gonna bring in less revenue than the $677,000, but we also put into the ordinance, the pilot ordinance, the ability to negotiate with the DDA to get some of that money. And we have a very good working relationship with our DDA. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, I can't say what the DDA is gonna do, but I would bet that the DDA would be, well, I'm looking at you, the DDA would be willing to share that money 50% if not more. So the pilot program allows the city of Lathrup to get some money as well as the DDA. I mean, when you look at that combined, it's going to be about 6 times more than about 7 times more than what we're getting now. So if you look on the surface, yeah, it does seem a little wonky, but if you go down one level below the surface, ad valorem, we get nothing. Stay the way we being the city, gets nothing. Continue the way we are, we get nothing. We do a pilot, the city will get a lot more money than what we're getting now. So again, town hall tomorrow, 7 o'clock, we'll get into that a little bit more. I also want to mention that we've put out another RFQ for the Triangle properties, one on the east side of Southfield Road, one on the west side. I want to strongly, because I know what the feedback was last time, or some of the comments were last time, I want to strongly urge residents, if they have a sustainable idea for how we can build a green space, a nature preserve, a park, those are valid submissions to that RFQ, but it's got to be something that's sustainable, in addition to what other developers might submit for those triangles. And we will weigh all of those together. If we can come up with a sustainable way to do some of these other green projects, we'll do it. But I wanted to let people know that those are out there. Again, Lauren, amazing job.
Absolutely.
I want to give everybody a clap for it one more time. I also want to give props to Pam Schurmeyer with the hanging baskets that she did this year. I can think of 3 cities that continually, every year, are just amazing with their hanging baskets. Petoskey, Franklin, and Birmingham. We blew them away this year. Our baskets are amazing, so thank you for that. And then I have one last question for you, Scott, relating kind of to Jayla and I, because the League of Women Voters is going to be doing a candidate forum, October, you remember the date? Jayla, you remember?
I want to say it's the 12th, but
We all have it in
I don't
our
have my
phone.
calendar in front of me.
Give me 2 seconds, I can tell
But
you.
my question is, Jayla and I are sitting council people, and obviously the
Which day?
question, what's that?
October 9th.
October 9th. At 7
7
o'clock?
o'clock.
7 o'clock. Jalen and I are sitting council members, and I know we have to be very careful, and it would shock me if the question doesn't come up about Headley. Can we respond to that, and how can we respond? How would you recommend that we?
Yeah, I would recommend you not weigh in on it, because it is something that the city can't weigh in an opinion. And you, as current sitting members of city council, if you answer those questions, could be interpreted as the opinion of the body as a whole. So I would, caution you against that.
Okay. And that's all I had.
I have one thing. So in regards to the SAVE circulars, last week when I was driving through the city, I saw the guys that deliver the SAVE circulars thing. It's not through the Postal Service. It is people that are hired. So there's a couple of things about that, right? You can contact their phone number that's on their circular to opt out, but the guys that are doing these deliveries don't have a list of houses not to drop these things off at. The second thing is, I don't know if doing that is in alliance with our ordinances, so I did contact our code enforcement officer. I left a message for him the day that I saw those guys. I've not followed up on it, but it's something that I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, when Mr. Terra brought that up, I did provide the code officer with a write-up on the ordinances that conflicted with. And my understanding is that he did send a correspondence to that organization. As you stated, I don't think they've responded. I don't know where he's at with it in terms of the enforcement process, if he's issued citations. If he has, I haven't received them, I haven't seen them, so.
Does he have to see them in the act to do the citation, or can he give a citation to?
Well, we got a witness here now,
Right.
so.
Yeah, so that's just it. I mean, if I see them again next month, then I intend to call the code enforcement officer.
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically either would be, there could be some violations of our solicitor's permit
That's what I was
for
thinking.
hand-billed distribution. That is something that I know the police department is aware of that. Also, just in general littering. So, yeah, those not necessarily have to be observed by them, but you could follow the evidence, the paper trail.
Would it be
The literal paper trail.
You should call the police though, not the code enforcement.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, it's really, they would defer to.
Right, but I mean, the code enforcer is, well, yeah, I mean,
So,
I
but
would
the
say
other,
the police could get there
the other
quicker,
point of
but
all this is
if you gotta
that
catch them in the
if
act.
I saw them wandering around the city, maybe other people
Yeah.
will in the future as well. So don't just assume it's, something that's getting delivered surreptitiously. It's broad daylight, and so if you see them, say something.
Yeah.
Jalen?
Last thing, I did want to talk about the vote. I was, a little, this was a lot, and so I was a little hurt about, how people come at us, but it is what it is. It's the job.
Yep.
And I weighed the pros and the cons, and I felt like the pros outweighed the cons, and just off the faith alone that they still have so many things to do to see this project through. I think we should allow them the chance to see if it can happen. If it can't happen, there's bond insurance, there's things that can, happen. Maybe they'll go in a different direction. But I think, we should allow our city to grow. We should allow it to have that possibility. So that's why I voted the way I did. And, we can't always make everyone happy. So that's all it was.
Maria, do you have?
Yes,
Can
I
you use your
do.
microphone?
Huh?
Can you please use your microphone?
Well, no, the only thing I want to say is, so these are very, very trying times. We all know that. I mean, these are very trying times. But what I experienced on Saturday in Lathrop, oh, I'm gonna cry. I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful experience. And it's all about community and all about bringing people together. And I just can't say enough and thank you enough for everything you did. Thank you.
So that, make sure no one else has anything to say.
Did I mention there's a town hall tomorrow at 7 p.m.?
You did.
Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody forgot except
I think
you.
you gotta state the reason, Jason. You gotta state the reason.
Yeah, I gotta bring up the.
It's pursuant to MCL 15.268E to discuss pending litigation on
Hey, everyone, we're still in session.
I make a motion to go into closed session as a request, or to discuss MCL 15.268E to discuss pending litigation on Michigan Tax Tribunal case numbers 24-001634, 24-001640, and 24-00164.
Second.
Second, yeah.
It's moved in second. We don't have to do the actual, roll call, right? Nope.
Yeah, no, you do have to roll
Oh,
call.
roll call. Oh, I
Councilmember-
can say no.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Reluctantly, yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Councilmember Hammond.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we're going into closed session. Who wants to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to come out of the closed session.
Second.
Motion to adjourn?
No.
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 We
It
have to
is-
vote on that,
We have
right?
to vote on it?
We
No?
have,
Oh, we do?
okay. We do roll call, please. Look at me.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
So
motion to table the approval of the retention of Hallahan and Associates as trial counsel for Michigan Tax Tribunal cases for the 3 tribunal cases listed.
Second.
it's been moved in second. Any discussion? I don't think you're supposed to, but roll call, please.
Councilmember Manarino Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned, folks.